All right, welcome in to another stream. I'm going to go to this view right here. Another stream here on the Hockey Podcast Network. I am producer Clark. I'm with my boy, Max Ritz, who is doled out in the wrong Toronto sports gear, but I'll take it.
Is it
either
ever
way,
wrong? Is it ever wrong when it's
that
this beautiful and blue? I had to get something for Toronto tonight, right?
That gear is never wrong, Max, but as you can tell, I got a bit of the right gear tonight.
Well, we'll
get going here
we'll see.
For the Maple Leafs and Oilers. It didn't get canceled, so we're finally getting back on the Hockey Podcast Network because we have been lined up for 2 or 3 or 4 games in the last couple weeks since we did your Nashville Predators and the New York Rangers about feels like forever ago now, but a couple months ago.
Hopefully a few more goals.
Yeah, exactly. We're finally back.
That's all we can hope for.
On the airwaves for a Maple Leafs Oilers game, and I was worried it was going to get canceled because Max, the big news for this game tonight is that Edmonton Oilers center Derek Ryan is not going to be in the lineup tonight. Oh, is that the big news?
Hey, you know what? Let's talk about how this loss is going to impact the Oilers dramatically in this one tonight. Derek Ryan, heart and soul. No, just kidding. Let's lead here.
You're not far off, but it is Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid, Tyson Barrie, power play quarterback, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins going out with an injury. So
this is setting up perfectly for your Toronto Maple Leafs to do exactly what they did against the Pittsburgh Penguins with no Sidney Crosby, no Evgeny Malkin, half an AHL team. I'm really looking forward to this one personally. I'm hoping that this is a get-right game for the Edmonton Oilers because everybody's going to have to step up in those guys' absence.
Yes, absolutely. We got some comments coming in here. Where's the game? Well, here's the thing. We can't broadcast the game on this channel. This is a watch-along. You turn the game on. Come and hang out with us. Comment along with our friends in the comment section. This one says, feels weird to have Clark on the left and Max on the right. Pretty sure that's the setup almost every time we do a show. Is it not?
I don't know, man. Sheridan would probably know best, though.
Yeah, you're right.
He's an avid watcher of ours. He knows.
Yeah, I feel like I'm usually on the left. Anyways, doesn't matter. We got front row.
You're always on the right side of being wrong. How's that sound?
Yeah. He says Maple Leafs. I'm pretty sure this is going to be 5-2. I think that's his prediction, not 5-3-2. I could be wrong, though. Hockey Legend 2012 is saying Leafs 2-1. So a low-scoring game with all these guys.
I was going to say, if this becomes a pattern where people have to take the under every time we do a broadcast, we're going to have to be really entertaining because, I don't know. I don't know, man. Yeah,
last 2-1
hockey game. It was 1-0. It was a UC Starro shutout. That's what it was, which was also entertaining in its own right. But
it had its ups and downs, absolutely. Jacob saying 4-2 Leafs. Front row production. Sorry, he had it backwards. 5-3 Oilers is what he was trying to say. So there we go. Jacob's also saying, "Hey Clark, people can watch the game there. If you want to watch the game online somewhere, you can find it at those 2 places there." Thank you, Jacob, for saying that. The Squadcast, you're on the right side, Clark. At least from my point of view, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so I guess on the stage, I'm on screen stage right. I guess if that regard. But either way, it doesn't matter what side we're on because we're both here. We're both hanging out. And the Leafs and Oilers is about to kick off. I just lost one of my lights, so that's always good.
Nice, good stuff.
See if I can get back on at some point.
If that's any indication of what we're going to see tonight, then
lights out performances?
Strap in, big fella. Lights out performances from Mikko Koskinen, which I'm sure we'll get into a little bit later with the comments.
Oh, Mike Smith. Mike Smith is starting tonight.
Mike Smith back? Oh, wow. Here we go. For two periods before he goes back on IR?
Well,
I'm just kidding. I like me some Mike Smith, but he's 39 years old. Like, I don't know. What do you guys think of Mike Smith?
Yeah, tell us what you guys think about the Edmonton Oilers goaltending issues.
Because we're going to get into that like for a good majority of the night.
One thing I will say, as I am super dark now because one of my lights went out. One thing I will say is that a lot of people are complaining about the Oilers goaltending. That's like the big topic right now, of course. Tonight is Mike Smith versus Jack Campbell. I say, you know what? Mike Smith just had basically 2 months off of hockey.
He's 39, Clark.
I know, but he just had 2 months off. Hear me out. Because of injury, and now everyone's saying he's not good enough after having 2 months off, and he's only played 1 or 2 games. I say give him a couple of weeks, let him get back into the groove. He is an older guy. It's going to take him a little bit longer to get back into a groove, but once he's in a groove,
do the Oilers have a couple of weeks though? I think that's the big question on everybody's mind with how much they've been sliding over the last 6-7 games here. This is clearly not the team that started out the season, and I think we can kind of get into how one-dimensional the Oilers have been since that really hot start. But yeah, no, things have just not gone well. And I don't know, man, we'll have this debate a little more as the night goes on, but I think they need to fix their goaltending, and it's not with the 2 guys they currently have in the crease.
I totally hear you on that, Max, but I just want to make sure that everyone does remember Mike Smith in the last couple of years, even as a 37, 38-year-old goaltender, has been really good when he's been playing.
The Oilers have gone through Dwayne Rolison, Clark. Do Oilers fans really want to go through the old guy trying to get them through on his last fume of hockey? I don't know. When it comes to Mike Smith, I got no problems with the guy. I just think that when it comes to this team, there's a clear need for an upgrade there, regardless if it's Koskinen, if it's Smith. They give up a lot of goals. And when you got two of the premier talents in the league and you have to rely on them to score 6 goals every night, that's a tough way to win hockey games, especially further on as teams get a little bit tighter into the season here. You don't really get into, I guess, well, contrary to popular belief, I think we'll see this maybe a couple more weeks down the road, further out of this pause. This is kind of like the first week out of training camp with some of the scores that we've been seeing over the last week or so as the NHL's returned. But man, oh man, as things kind of go towards the trade deadline, I'm fully expecting things to kind of tighten up a little bit more down the stretch. If the Oilers are giving up 4 or 5 goals a game, I don't think Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl can outscore their problems. I really don't.
Yeah, and maybe, Max, could be the little preamble into what we could be talking about throughout the night, which we had this lengthy conversation today, and I love these conversations because it just gets the creative juices flowing in terms of player movement, roster movement, trades, et cetera, et cetera. Could the Oilers, if they falter maybe tonight or over the next week or so, could they consider making major shakeups on their roster? And could Leon Draisaitl potentially be one of the names that gets moved in a massive shakeup?
That doesn't get the comments section going.
If you were to trade Leon Draisaitl, what would it take for you to trade him? I guess is kind of what we're going to get into. We'll talk about that later, though, because
we've got some thoughts.
Mere seconds away. So, Max, I'm going to try to fix my light. I'll let you take over for a minute.
Sounds good. Taking over for a minute. Well, as the goaltenders take the crease here, as you aforementioned, your boy Jack Campbell off to a hell of a start this season. We were doing our show last night and kind of talking about goaltenders and obviously how amazing UC Saros is, but how amazing Jack Campbell's been to start this season. 16-6-2, got an ungodly save percentage as well as a goals against average, and the puck is dropped. And as things kind of get going here, I think that's the thing I'm looking most forward to watching is, as many people who, I guess, partake in our program know, I like to take a few shots at Clark's Leafs. I like to take a few shots at the guys with the jerseys that are adorned on the back of his wall there. But one thing that I think unanimously the hockey world can agree is that we need to protect Jack Campbell at all costs because the guy is just a national treasure. I'm really excited to watch him play. I'm really excited to watch him make a few saves. And for the Oilers, this has just kind of got to be one of those get-right games. Everybody's going to have to step up that is actually in the lineup. I think that's really the biggest thing. You're looking to the Jesse Puljujärvis, you're looking to the Zach Hymans, who I believe, and when Clark returns to the screen here, he's obsessing over his light, which really isn't that big of a deal, but that's okay. When it comes to Zach Hyman, I believe this is his first game back in Toronto since he obviously was signed by the Oilers. Good stuff. Yeah. Don't worry about the light, man. It's fine.
It's better now. It is Zach Hyman's first game back, and that's kind of the big storyline amongst Leafs fans is it's just too bad that nobody can be there.
For my fantasy team, I hope he has a great night. Great night.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, this is very Bubble-esque again with all of the drapery over the seats. It's oh, Jesse Puljujärvi. Okay. Taking a tumble into the net there.
It happens. I just got a message. Somebody said, "Are you off screen vaping, you beauty?" No, I'm not. I had to get my
vapes are bad, kids. Don't do it.
I had a coughing fit, first of all. I had to get off screen and fix my light. The light's fixed. So we're good. We're all good now. I'm just wiping my eyes because I was just coughing so much. It brought me to tears. I'm not crying for Zach Hyman's return. I promise.
That's okay. You can get a little sentimental. We know how badly you wish they would have re-signed him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Max, just for on the same
Willie Nylander with a.
Are you watching on Sportsnet tonight?
I am watching on Sportsnet tonight. Good, sir. Okay,
so we should be basically on the same timeline, so we shouldn't have to worry about spoilers or anything throughout the evening.
Oh, nice grade A chance for the Oilers there is. Who's number 20 on the Oilers? See, this is where, like I said, this is an awesome game for me because I get to take a bit of an education as a fan. I don't watch a ton of Canadian hockey because obviously I'm a fan of an out-of-market team. But like I said, I'm looking forward to getting initiated with more Oilers names and stuff. Slater Quick.
Yeah. Slater Cuckoo. One of the best names in the league.
That's how you pronounce his name? Actually?
Yeah, Cuckoo. Yeah, Cuckoo.
Cuckoo.
Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, man.
Is there a couple of silent K's in there?
I think there's multiple silent letters.
Awesome. Good for him.
To me,
Well, he should have scored there because that was a
letters.
grade A chance.
Yeah, it was.
I think that's kind of a microcosm of what we're talking about with the Oilers, though, right? You're going to have to find a way for some of these depth guys to just cash in on some of these opportunities, especially without guys like McDavid, guys like Barry. Like, they're missing half of their first unit power play tonight. So, and obviously that is a key to the success that they did have early on in the season. They were operating at like a 50% clip from what I remember. And then the league just said, okay, no more power plays for you guys. We're just going to play you quite disciplined.
Shout out to your boy Drukin on TikTok. He's sending me some donations. I appreciate it, my good man. Thanks for supporting over here. That's awesome. I hate the Leafs, but that jersey is sick. I am wearing the Aretnas jersey tonight, Max. I know
you are.
I know you're a fan. I wanted to get the names on the wall behind me, so I figured I'd wear the Aretnas. I also just walked down.
Hey, you know what? Sorry, Clark. Just put your head down for a second. So
head down.
Just put your head like completely down, like out of the shot. I just want to do something. Okay, so that's 11 million. That's 16. That's 22.
Oh yeah,
that's like $40 million on the wall there. That's pretty good. It's pretty.
The only one I wish I could sell those for $14 million. The only one I don't have up there is Marner.
Yeah, you should get him. That adds another 10.5 to it.
Yeah, 10.9.
10.9. There you go. Round up. Keep the change.
Max, I also locked in our first intermission guest.
Oh, you locked in again. Look at you. You've been busy.
Yes. Now, it's not the one we discussed earlier, but in the first intermission, we will be joined by Waz from Oilers Nation. He's the social media coordinator of Oilers Nation. He'll be joining us. If you follow Oilers Nation on TikTok, if you follow Oilers Nation on Twitter, which a lot of people do, Waz is the coordinator. So Waz is going to join us. We're going to talk Oilers in the first intermission and kind of get his breakdown because he has a ton.
I love that nickname. Wasn't that the nickname of like Steve Jobs' second in command at Apple too? Steve Wozniak.
Oh, Wozniak. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, good. Yeah. See, pop culture references and stuff. I guess that's more like big tech business, but that's right. We'll talk hockey, I promise.
So early on in the game, shots are 2-2. I mean, the Oilers have probably had the only real chance of the game so far. It's kind of been a little bit back and forth as the teams are finding their ground. Max, from your outside perspective, because like you said, you're not a fan of either of these teams, so you're kind of coming in with a somewhat of a blank slate, I would say. What would your keys to this game be for both teams, with the Leafs kind of playing good right now? The Oilers are obviously on a slide of rumor proportions because now rumors are flying. So what would you say are the keys to this game?
For the Oilers, they got to get gritty. Obviously, we've kind of talked about it, right? The bottom six needs to really step up and kind of establish an identity. Leon Draisaitl is going to have to take over this game. He's going to be a heavy topic of discussion for us throughout the night, but he's going to have to find a way to do it on his own tonight. No Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, no Tyson Barrie, no Connor McDavid. Like, those are his typical running mates when it comes to generating offense for this Oilers squad. So that's going to be a really interesting thing to watch. And I mean, for the Leafs, it's just their best players have to be their best players. Ultimately, I think at the end of the day, that's really what you can chalk it up to. We talked about it a little bit earlier as the jab goes on. The $50+ million locked into 5 guys. They need to be their best. And there's Johnny Tavares.
There we go. So we got a 1-0 lead right here, guys. So I'm a little ahead of you, Max. And this is another shout out to Sportsnet. I don't think John Tavares touches this. They're just showing the replay. Nylander banks it off the backboards, and it goes right off of Mike Smith's skates.
Which feeds exactly into my point of this is the exact kind of goal that the Oilers have been giving up so many times right off the start, a missed net. And again, like, tough break for Mike Smith, but this is the kind of stuff that you just can't have happen. You're behind the 8 ball in the hockey game already as it is, right? So we knew it was going to be a tall task for them to come in and do damage tonight, but when stuff like that happens, oh man. That's just really unfortunate.
And you know, Max, the old saying in hockey is, when it rains, it pours. I know that's not a hockey saying specifically, but it seems like for a lot of teams, when bad stuff starts happening, it just keeps piling up. When the years start coming, they just don't stop coming, as the old Smash Mouth people would say.
Good reference. Good pull.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It kind of just popped into my head.
Good stuff.
But momentum is a B at apartment 23, and it can be an absolute killer. And when you don't have momentum, I know it's a made up, psychological thing, but it is so powerful sometimes. And right now the Oilers just kind of seem like everything's going wrong.
as Darnell Nurse walks in and gets another good opportunity. But yeah, no, I think it's so hard to chalk it up for the Oilers because, again, they were off to such a good start, right? There was so much talk about these guys going to potentially run away with the Pacific, really contend with Vegas for the top spot. This was their year. Evan Bouchard was going to take a big step in his development and really help out and be a top 5 defenseman for this team. But it's the same old thing for the Oilers. There's just not much there when you get past their first layer of offense. And I mean, it's one thing if you have a really good goaltender that can bail out a bit of an inexperienced decor. I think the other thing that, a lot of Oiler fans, I'm sure, will probably attest to is, man, oh man, I bet you they're wishing that Oscar Klefbom could have found a way to stay healthy in his career, because that is a presence that is not often talked about. That is a bit of a loss, especially when you dissect this blue line as it is now. Also, again, one of the texts I sent you today, somebody explained to me how Cody Ceci keeps getting paid really good money to play hockey. I don't understand.
Last year in Pittsburgh, he was only on like $1 million contract, 1.25 or something like that.
Yeah, and he was on Pittsburgh.
And he played third pair, second pair minutes, sheltered and looked pretty good. And I think that just got him his contract. Because Cody Ceci is one of those guys where I think his draft stock has lingered all throughout his career, and people still really like him from his draft stock. The player I'm talking about, the type of guy who's kind of touted or really liked as a player coming into the draft, and then
Cody Ceci
for like a decade, he just has momentum in his career and keeps getting contracts, even though he hasn't necessarily performed up to what his highly touted early nature was. And Cody Ceci, I think, did that. Exactly.
He's the football player contract. He's the Mike Glennon of the NHL, to be perfectly honest. He's made $20 million playing hockey. And all I've ever heard of him, especially in the Canadian markets, is, man, this guy is not good. And if you look at his numbers this year, he's generated a little bit of offense, but nothing to write home about. And for the role that they need him to be for $3.1 million defenseman? Oh man, was that a move that Ken Holland really needed to make in the offseason? Was that really something he had to do, or could that have been invested somewhere else?
That's the problem that they're running into now, Max, when they need a goalie and they need, scoring depth and winger depth. They can't, because they're so strapped in right now. And a lot of their contracts that they do have, like Mikko Koskinen, you mentioned earlier, has a modified no move clause, so it's going to be tough to move that guy.
The old Peter Chiarelli on the way out the door. How did Daryl Cates let him sign that contract? How is that something that got approved? Saying, you know what, we're about to fire Peter Chiarelli. Let's lock up the goaltender that really hasn't done much to a $4.5 million deal over 4 years. Hello, see you later. Thanks for coming out. And it's still plaguing them to this day, 3 years later. Oh,
I want to know. I want to know what happened in, fly on the wall type of stuff. What happened from the time that contract was signed to the time they fired him? What happened? And did that contribute to it? Because I have a feeling that when he signed the contract, he wasn't getting fired. And then when he got fired, it was like,
but it was like bang, bang. It was like those two.
It was the next day, I'm pretty sure.
It happened way too quick for, like I said, how was the approval even put down? There would have been some sort of wheels in motion that are like, okay, how was this guy allowed to negotiate this contract if we even thought 50% in our minds that he wasn't going to make it to the end of the week? I don't know. Not a piece of business that really needed to get done. It just makes no sense.
I agree with you. I just, it's one of those things where I don't know. Unless Daryl Cates at the time just he wasn't really paying attention and he just snuck one by him. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I don't care how rich you are. If I'm locking into a $4.5 million commitment to anything, I'm doing my due diligence before the guy that I'm about to can is on his way out my door. I don't know. Like I said, I'm certainly no savant when it comes to hockey, or the only trades I've ever made are video game version. But it's one of those things that just never added up. And I think a lot of Oiler fans can probably echo my sentiments there.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. We're going to get into it throughout the night. Let's check in with a few of our viewers. We got Josh coming in here from the Hockey Podcast Network. He says, "What's up, boys?" Josh, thanks for getting us hooked up tonight. We're right on the deadline there to get online, but we got in. We're good. Now somebody's over on my TikTok channel. So I'm if I look over here on YouTube, I'm referencing my TikTok live. I got TikTok live going here.
No, people just think you're crazy. It's fine.
I am a little bit. Your boy Drukin has been like absolutely being a stud tonight, sending in gifts. So big shout out to your boy Druken. Remember Harold Druken, Max?
Who?
The old NHLer Harold Druken. Doesn't it ring a bell? He used to play on the Vancouver Canucks. Harold Druken.
Right, because I would know that.
Well, he was a Leaf too. That's why I know him. But
there you go.
He was on the Canucks for a while. Harold Druken. Anyways, this guy's.
Do you remember Victor Orzog, Clark? Longtime Predator. Fantastic player.
Great player. Solid player, you might say. Anyways, he's being a legend over here. So shout out to your boy Druken. We got a couple other things said. Wow, you're like really behind. I'm not behind. Max is behind. My feed is actually ahead of Max's. So I was waiting for him to say something. So that's the thing, is that sometimes I get lucky on this Sportsnet app and it actually has a feed that's like ahead of the live broadcast. So I'm on that. Max is on the live TV broadcast and we're just going to have to deal with it. But I'll
on the NHL app broadcast.
Oh, you're on the okay.
Yeah. So right. I only pay for Sportsnet when it's Jay's season. Come on, man.
That's fair. I understand. So anyways, that makes sense. So we're on two different feeds at the moment, but we'll make it happen. We'll make it work. Keep letting us know where you're watching from tonight. If you're in the YouTube feed, if you're on my TikTok channel over here, big shout out to Pretty Fly Dad. He's watching on TikTok. Craig Ballard's tuning in on YouTube as well. So shout out to Craig. He's our boy. Ava's checking in. I know I saw Ava talking earlier. We got Aaron Matthews checking in as well. Tom Hall. Shout out to Tom Hall.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Tom Holland. Like, man, Spider-Man's checking in with us tonight?
Yeah, Tom Holland. Cool. He's in. He's going to give us a bunch of spoilers.
Nice. Oh, boy. This ultimately, like 8 minutes into the game, even, like, this is just, whew, man.
It's turning into, like, the lead. Like, I've been watching the comments and stuff and checking TikTok, but it's turning into the last little while. The Leafs are kind of taking a little bit of control, but at the same time, they've had their top lines out for the last couple shifts. So that's a thing.
Clark, they're taking a lot of control. Let's call it what it is.
Well, you know,
if this game isn't 5-6-0 by the end of it, I'll be surprised.
Yeah, there's another great chance. They just showed the replay for Matthews. Marner had a great chance. Bunting's flying all over the place. Our boy Donnell. Max, remember Donnell from the Predators?
I do remember Donnell. Absolutely.
He's saying, "What's up, gentlemen? How's your Wednesday?" It's better now that you're here, Donnell. Thanks for
absolutely.
Checking in. If you are
hit
watching
the net, Matthews. Jeez, $11 million for a guy that can't even hit the net. Hey?
Okay.
Yikes. I'm going to really alienate some Leaf fans tonight, aren't I?
That's fine. That's your role here tonight. You're
just saying, Philip Forsberg would have hit that net. Zero questions.
Another would have been in the back. Keep your head up. Another great chance coming up here.
Nice, good stuff. For Zach Hyman, I hope so.
Nope.
For fantasy.
Hey, Clark, can we see the stats, please? Okay, so Jacob wants to see the stats. So let me just scroll down here. These are the stats for tonight. If you're just talking about tonight specifically, Tavares got the goal, but I think that's going to get changed. You saw the replay? That didn't go off Tavares' stick. That was a Nylander.
Was it maybe Tavares' stick hitting the pad of Mike Smith that they would give him credit for that?
Do they?
Would that have been the thing that I don't know? I feel like you got to touch the puck.
Yeah, I think that's going to get changed to Nylander at some point. If it hasn't already, some people in my TikTok channel are saying they already changed it to Nylander. So it just hasn't changed on here. Maybe if I refresh this, but I don't want to do anything because I don't have a MacBook. I don't use a MacBook. I'm on a MacBook here. If I do something, I'm going to lose it.
Excuses.
It'll update itself. Here's the game stats specifically, shots on goal, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe I'll leave it on here for a while. They did say that they changed it to Nylander on TV. So there you go. They gave Nylander credit.
So you know what? As we kind of progress through this game, Clark, I think we're gonna have the need for some topics full of sustenance, as it were, because this is shaping up looking like it's going to be a drubbing unless Mike Smith continues to find a way to fend off the Wolves here. But let's talk about Zach Hyman for a bit. It's
Sure.
His return to Tirana. It's obviously he was a player that was near and dear to many Leaf fans' hearts, just the way that he played the game, the style. And that's exactly why the Oilers paid him in the offseason. What were your fondest memories of Zach Hyman in the time that he was a Toronto Maple Leaf?
There's so many times where even like early on in his career, obviously the Leafs developed quite a bit as a team from Hyman's beginning to his end in Toronto. When they weren't that good, right in his first couple of years, he was one of those guys that every single night his motor was just going 100% every single time. And it was like, if more people could just play, more people on this team could play like Hyman every night, this would be a Stanley Cup contender, hands down. Uh-oh, something's coming up here in a sec. I'll let you see it. So
I heard
that's
a goal.
yeah. That's the biggest thing for me that when I think of Hyman is just his work ethic every single night. And he set an example for guys that I think is really hard to replicate. I'll let you
Look at that. The Oilers find a way to get in this one here. Awesome.
Yeah.
See, look at that. I am a mush. As soon as I say they're going to get shut out, 42 on the Oilers. Somebody help me out, whoever the hell that guy is.
Brandon Perlini, I think.
Brandon Perlini. Okay, so I do remember that name.
Yep. Former first-round pick, Brandon Perlini.
Yeah. Kyle Turris on the ice, chip and go. He didn't do that much for the Preds.
Colton Sevier with the assist. So there you go. Secondary scoring. They just got their answer.
Come on, Campbell. Figure it out.
Guys on a contract year, he can't even
make no kidding. Geez, can't stop a point-blank shot.
I really love this comment tonight from Front Row Productions. The hosts are a bit salty tonight. I think that was right after you were kind of bashing the Leafs there for a sec.
Probably. It's going to continue. So
yeah. Well, it's not over. Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's all right.
1-1 is the score. Brandon Perlini ties.
Yeah, if you guys lose tonight, oh boy.
But it's not like the best player in the world is not playing in the game tonight. Like, what's the big deal? The Oilers are still good.
And half of their first power play unit.
Right. Tyson Barrie, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
Yeah. Guy in net that hasn't played a game in 2 months.
He played one game. Maybe 2 games, actually.
Cody Ceci from the point and bangs it off the glass.
That was a good shot, though. It was a good shot.
Cody.
So just a reminder for those who might have missed.
He's coming again. Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. He's aggressive tonight.
Look at that. Burning every penny of that $3.1 million.
Oh, yeah. Right. First intermission, we're going to be joined by Waz from Oilers Nation. If you're on TikTok, Oilers Nation, you don't follow them. They're one of the best hockey TikTok accounts on here. So go follow Oilers Nation. But Waz, the social media coordinator, will be joining us in the first intermission. Now, here's an interesting thing. I'm just going to say it before he gets on here. I'm not sure what Waz's full name is. I've only ever called him Waz. I've talked to him several times. I've only ever called him Waz. So I'm just going to call him Waz.
Good stuff. Maybe that could be our first interview question. Hey, dude, what's your name?
What's your full name?
It's a good icebreaker, typically,
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've only ever known him as Waz. I'm looking on all of his social media accounts. None of them say anything other than Waz.
Nice.
So
good.
Yeah. If anybody knows.
Man with an alter ego. Gotta love it.
Absolutely. Producer Clark is mine, and his is Waz.
That's not really an alter ego, though, because you have your name in.
Right. Well, his name is probably Waz.
Yeah, but it's not like
Waz in it.
But like you said, but you don't know what his name is as a result. Like Waz doesn't tell you the full story of the dude's name. You're Clark. Fair. You're producer Clark.
If you're watching on TikTok, make sure you guys start tapping that screen. Let's go. If you're watching on YouTube, I meant to say this earlier. Tap that like button. Sorry, I got a bunch of words jumbled in my head there. Tap the like button and drop a comment. Let us know how you're liking the game tonight. If you like what we're doing, if you don't like what we're doing, hopefully you like what we're doing.
Don't tell us that. Don't tell us that.
Don't
tell people to tell us that we're doing bad, Clark. We don't want any sort of accountability. We're awesome at what we do, even though this is kind of, one of those games where it's not featuring a great squad on either side, but it'll be fine. It'll be okay. We'll work our way through it.
Yeah, who needs those large Canadian markets? Who needs
That's
those?
Right, especially when they can't have anybody in their buildings right now. You're right. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we're providing a service here, Max, because
nobody can nothing for the league revenue-wise right now.
Nobody can be at the game, so we're providing a big service here tonight.
Good stuff.
Shout out to Dez on TikTok for sending in the roses. I appreciate that. Vancouver and Winnipeg are the best Canadian teams, says Dez. Interesting. Considering where both those teams are in the standings.
Yeah, I think some would argue that point, but that's okay. Hey, everybody's entitled to an opinion.
Now, that was something that was very unfortunate that just happened.
Your guys are going to lose this game. Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
Guy we were talking about earlier about trading is on the board.
Yeah. Maybe they shouldn't trade him. Oh, Kyler Yamamoto. Nice coverage, Morgan Riley. Jeez. Yeah. That's fun.
Not the best play all around as the entire unit. I'll say the entire unit on that one didn't look great.
Wow.
But now here's the thing.
You guys got $30 million out there and you can't stop a goal.
That's
unfortunate. That's unfortunate.
We hinted earlier at a conversation that we were going to jokingly have, but also kind of half seriously have, about potentially shaking up the entire Oilers roster and trading Draisaitl. That was obviously not 100% serious, but at the same time, if they want to make something really big change, a really big difference in their team roster, it would definitely be a shakeup. We're not saying he's bad. That was one thing I just wanted to put out there.
Gosh, no.
He is not bad.
We're saying what he could fetch you in terms of a return.
Exactly.
In conjunction of the game of hockey and, like the importance of having more than one or two players. I think that's the thing that the Oilers, and I'm sure Waz can attest to this as well, too, after watching the exact same script nearly play out for the last 5 seasons. This isn't basketball. This isn't a 1 or 2 man operation when you're only playing 20 to 22 minutes of a game every night. You need layers to your team. You need some depth. You need to find a way to, I guess, overcome any sort of adversity in a game. And that's really tough to do when you're paper thin on the blue line and in between the pipes, you're relying on a guy who's 39 years old, who, regardless of even if he plays good hockey, his best hockey is behind him. Father Time is undefeated in this sport. And at 39 years old, again, you're what David Justice from Moneyball. You're trying to get the very last ounce of hockey out of Mike Smith in order to maybe make the playoffs. And then beyond that, what's going to happen, right? Because he certainly can't go to Koskinen. It's something that's been tried and not very true over the past 4 seasons. So what we're essentially saying with the Leon Draisaitl side of things is you could fix 2, maybe 3 areas for the price of 1 player.
Yeah. Thanks for the follow, Suomi. Now, this is a question we don't necessarily need to go too deep into, but do you think Toronto should have another team? No, I'm not. I'm going to say no on that one.
No, zero question. No.
Kaylee Amelia. I always get.
Do you want to justify that one a little bit though, Clark? Like, give it a 30-second spiel of why you think that Toronto will not ever have another hockey team, in addition to the Leafs.
I mean, the Leafs and the Senators are obviously very close in proximity in Ontario, and I just think the Leafs have such a stranglehold on the province that it would take a lot of heavy lifting in order to get any type of actual strong fan base for that team. They already had a hard enough time getting the Senators a strong fan base. It would be tough to get another one. And I think there's just some other markets around the continent that need a team before Toronto has another team. Yep. And, Toronto, as it is right now, the Leafs, and I'm not trying to boast here or anything, but they have one of the largest bankrolls in the league, and that's because their fan base is so large. If you try to cut into that, it could potentially actually hurt the league if that's actually lower, just because of overall revenues, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know how much another team, like if Hamilton or something got a team, I don't know how much that would eat into the Leafs' overall fan base, but the goal for that team would be to steal fans from the Leafs. Like if they're in the same market. So I don't know. I think I would count upwards of 6 to 8 other markets around North America that need a team before Toronto gets a second team.
100%.
Houston, Quebec City, Portland, I think could deserve a team potentially. If you're looking out west, if you want to get Seattle a rival, if you want to get Vancouver another rival, put one in Portland, see how that goes. That would be great. And I think there's like Hartford could get a team back, for example. There's tons of markets that I would rather have than another Toronto market.
Yeah, and I don't think there's going to be any prospective owner or ownership group in their right mind that wants to pay anything remotely close to the $650 million expansion fee that Seattle had to pay just to go against the Leafs, right? I mean, it's a losing investment right from the start. If you're talking even expansion, regardless, relocation, there's some rumors about the Arizona Coyotes, obviously, of the NHL potentially buying them, very much like the MLB did with the Montreal Expos back in the day, and then the MLB. That's about as far as it went, but essentially what they're saying, what could happen with the Arizona Coyotes, the NHL buys the team and then secures an expansion fee, which would essentially act as a relocation fee. Something that could, again, generate a huge amount of money, a huge cash flow injection right into the NHL's pocket in a time where they desperately need it, especially with the reports coming out today about the whole suing of the insurance companies for more than $1 billion. Obviously that happened back in the summer, but I mean, I think it's just bringing back to light that Insurance companies aren't the greatest of folks. They certainly aren't.
Somebody's
Hey.
saying that they can think of 4 or 5 markets in Canada alone that should get a team before Toronto. To name a couple, I think Halifax would be in discussion to get an entire Maritimes province behind, or a whole Maritimes region behind a team. I think that might work. I know they're having issues doing that in the CFL, but that's an entirely different beast. Let's not get into
CFL's
that
got issues all over the map in terms
let's
of.
not get into that too much.
Yeah.
But I think that a team out west like Victoria or Kelowna, somewhere in that region, I think could probably support or
which again though, right? Because that's kind of the same thing out west though. Like, why would you dilute the Canucks fan base? Because it's another team that generates a ton of profitability for the league.
Yeah.
So as far as BC is concerned, I don't know. I think one and done in BC is good to go.
Yeah. That is kind of a problem in a sense with Canada, is that the cities that teams are already in have such a wide-reaching fan base already, and it'd be tough you can't really put a team anywhere. I would say outside of the Maritimes, and the Maritimes are really heavily dominated by Montreal. I'll say that. In terms of fan base, there's a lot of Montreal fans out there. But where do you put a team that's separated outside of, even Quebec City? I think they already have a team. I think they would probably be able to do it. Like they had a team at one point. I mean,
it'd be the nostalgic factor of bringing back the Nordiques, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I liked your suggestion of Hartford. I think in Connecticut, right, you got a ton of Bruins fans out there, but you've also got a population that's vast enough to support potentially bringing back a Whalers or a new rendition of a team out there. That would be a really interesting market that has a ton of hockey fans. I know that obviously in Maine, University of Maine, that's obviously where our boy Paul Correa attended college, and it's a hockey hungry market everywhere you go in terms of what they appreciate out east, just down south of us here in Canada.
Well, and I mean, a lot of people will probably scoff at me saying this, but Atlanta, it's failed twice, which is probably going to be the biggest downfall for them, never getting a team again.
Yeah.
But it's still a massive market. And if they were able to be successful there, it would be huge for the league.
Yeah.
It just hasn't quite worked. And I know, like I said, it hasn't worked twice. I get it.
Cody Ceci just displaying amazing puck skills behind his own net there. Yikes. Oh boy, that is like watching Ben Harper play for the Nashville Predators, man. I tell you, that is, at least we're not paying him $3.1 million, but guy seems like a nice guy. Just as far as hockey playing is concerned. Oh boy,
I hear you. I'm just checking in over here. Why not one somewhere in Saskatchewan? Says Pretty Fly Dad over on our TikTok channel. That discussion is every day in this province, every day. Saskatchewan, I promise you, it comes up all the time. I just don't think in Saskatchewan there's enough corporate support to make it work. Not that people wouldn't support the team. I think ticket sales would probably be pretty good. If you put it in Saskatoon, people would travel from all over the province probably to go.
Let's work on fixing our potholes before we get a team going, I think.
See, that's the other problem, is that you get a lot of issues with public funding here in the province, and it would have to be somebody with majorly deep pockets who could come in and basically pay for a lot of it themselves, because you would have a hard time getting people to come out and pay major taxes for it to happen. So there'd have to be so much corporate support that I just don't know, honestly, if you could make it happen. I think it would be
you'd have to structure it very similar to how Winnipeg operates, and I'm not sure the NHL is even crazy about doing that, right? I mean, obviously Winnipeg is a diehard market. You're not going to see their team go anywhere for quite some time, which is fantastic. But I think when the NHL is looking out into the prairies here, I think they're like, okay, they got their two Alberta teams to the left when you're looking at a map. They got Winnipeg just over to the right. It might be a little bit oversaturated based on the population.
Well, yeah, and people we both know like to call this the Bermuda Triangle of the NHL in Saskatchewan, because we're right in between three pretty hardcore team markets for teams, and I just think it would be really hard here to get enough support constantly, because you'd have to sell out the building every night. You would in order for it to work. You'd have to Winnipeg this. You'd have to. I guess Edmonton does a pretty good job with ticket sales. Calgary is pretty good. So you'd have to.
would
amount.
get a new arena going, right? I think that's the other part of the discussion when it comes to, again, can the SaskTel Center in Saskatoon, that would have to be completely renovated to even look at entertaining, supporting an NHL franchise. And even with the maximum capacity there, that automatically becomes your smallest building in the NHL, right? So, yeah, I'm not too sure Gary Bettman and co are too excited about looking into Saskatchewan. Unfortunately, it's a discussion that, like you said, it's how's the weather? Hey, did you hear about us potentially getting an NHL team? Yeah, it's a very hot button topic every day, all the time.
Joe Rogan, who I have a feeling isn't Joe Rogan because that's not
he might be Joe Rogan, just not the Joe Rogan that we all know.
It might be. A, that's
we
not
now
Joe
know
Rogan
him, Joe Rogan, though.
B, that is another YouTuber, and I can't think of what his name is right now, but that is not Joe Rogan. Anyways, he says a Nunavut team. Yeah, good luck with that. Have fun. Zach Hyman just got his tribute video, I believe, the way that people were kind of reacting around Zach Hyman. They didn't show it unless I missed it completely.
Yeah, and he's just completely focused on the game. That's what you like to see right there.
Take him off his game. I completely agree with that.
No, you can't take him off his game. That's the thing, Clark. That's why you guys really wanted to re-sign him, but couldn't because you guys are committed $56 million to 5 players.
Absolutely.
Anyways, Jason Spezza. Hey, how does Peel turn out with Gary Bettman? Did they end up reducing that?
Reduced. Yeah, he got it reduced 6-4.
Games. Okay, that's not bad. That's a win.
Yeah. Front row says, I'm eating McDonald's chicken McNuggets. Don't judge me. I'm not judging anybody. Hey, I'll crush a few of those if they have to.
I'll crush a 20-pack on my own. What?
Absolutely.
New Year's resolution is not to do that. Not going to do that this year.
Not to do that, right.
Going to try not to.
Aaron Matthews from Saskatchewan says, the Saskatchewan Rush have proven that people do travel. But here's the problem, Aaron, and I'll say this as quick as possible. It's simple numbers. The Rush have 9 home games over a span of 5 months.
Yeah.
NHL, you have to sell out 41 venues in the span of a season. You'd have to sell them all out. And to sell out that many games in this province would be tough, especially look at the weather today. It's a freaking blizzard out there.
And what is it? SaskTel Center, you're looking at what, 12,500 people? Is that correct in saying that's about where you're at? So, like you said, that automatically becomes your smallest building in the NHL for 41 home dates. People wouldn't love it, but you'd have to sell out that building on top of probably seeing some of the highest ticket prices in the entire league just to make the NHL's nut in terms of what you need to generate profitability wise, right? So it's a discussion that's been had many times over, but yeah, unfortunately, I just don't see it happening anytime in any future. Maybe in an alternate universe, but not in this one, unfortunately.
It'd be great. There's a lot of hockey fans here. It's obviously a hockey mad province, but I just don't think it would work.
So let's do a little quick math here, Clark. Let's do it because this is a fun subject to talk about, right? No matter how many times we have it. But so let's do this. So conservatively, what do you think an average NHL team makes in terms of revenues off ticket sales every single game?
I mean, probably average $100 a ticket?
$100 a ticket, right? And that's including season tickets, all that good stuff, right?
Yeah, like that's you have to consider too, like people are paying for the boxes and stuff. Those count for a lot.
Yep. So let's raise.
I want to say it's $1 million. I want to say I've heard somewhere in the past it's $1 million a game.
$1 million in terms of gates. So you're looking to get $41 million out of gate revenue from a team that's potentially occupying the SaskTel Center, right? And then there goes the investment of potentially, even if you're going to completely renovate it, add a couple thousand seats to make it what Winnipeg's is, which is a hair over 15,000. You're looking at, let's call it $125. Multiply that by, let's say optimistically they could get it to 15,000. So that's 1.8 times 41. So you're looking at good revenues there. But again, that's an average of $125 a ticket for people to travel to fill it out every single game. There's, again, this economic times, you're not going to have a lot of people that are able to afford that in this province either, unfortunately. Let's just
go with this too. Saskatoon has what, 240,000 people, 200 somewhere in that range, right? 200,
maybe a little more now, 280, 290. Again, we could probably Google this.
Yeah, there's probably a census somewhere. But so that's Saskatoon alone. Winnipeg has what, 600,000, 500,000 people?
Oh, they're close to 1 million.
No, Manitoba's close, just over 1 million. Winnipeg's, I think, like half of it, though. It's a big city. I'll give it credit. But what I'm trying to get at is, okay,
750
so Saskatoon has,
for
what
Winnipeg. Winnipeg is 750.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Either
Closer
way.
to $1 million. You scoffed at me. 500,000, 600,000 max.
I think it was 6. I said 6. That wasn't that far off.
Oh,
but either way, Saskatoon has what?
273 as of 2017.
Okay, so let's say 280. And maybe surrounding towns.
Can tell we're not economic majors, that's for sure.
I did not. I passed one economics class in university. 2 maybe.
Nice. I passed one at Polytech, so we're doing good.
Yeah, there you go. We're getting there. Let's say in the surrounding towns around Saskatoon, maybe there's another, maybe 100,000 within an hour.
Do you count Regina in that surrounding area
within an hour?
Yeah.
So I would say an hour drive to go to an event like that would be reasonable.
Yep.
Outside of that, then you got Regina, which is the biggest other market in the province, and it's 200,000, 220, somewhere in that range. And that's a 2.5 hour drive. So on a Tuesday night, if a game starts at 7:00, you're not getting any of those people unless they miss work. You're not getting anybody from Regina on a Tuesday night. Thursday night, Wednesday night, like even a Friday would be tough, but people would probably work their schedules around it.
Yeah.
If they had tickets. So that's already over half the province. I'm going to say 80% of the province is outside of an hour away from Saskatoon. And those are not drives in the winter that you can easily make either. Oh, something's going to happen for you, Max, in just a minute here. I'm about to cheer. I'm
going to guess it's a goal for the Maple Leafs based on that horn. Anyways, just to wrap up this discussion, because I'm sure we have a lot of people that are maybe not from Saskatchewan tuning in tonight. Nice shot.
Yeah,
nice
worked
save.
out okay.
Good stuff. Yeah, Mike Smith. Good one.
Good bounce.
Screen.
Another bounce. Another
Mitch Marner. Oh, Zach Hyman. That's a minus. Good
well,
thing you guys didn't resign him. Anyway.
I know, right? Sheridan says, how slow you driving to Saskatoon? It's still a minimum 2 hour drive to Saskatoon. You cannot get there. You can't tell me you get there.
Oh, tough bounce. Tough bounce.
It was a tough bounce.
There's some lucky Leaf action going on. Oh, he kicked at it. Oh, that's off of Nurse. So yeah, that's 2 tough goals for Mike Smith. Oh,
don't talk to me about that getting kicked in. That was not kicked in. Either way, what I'm saying is 80% of the province. 80% of the province in this province of Saskatchewan is essentially non-drivable to a game on any day outside of maybe Friday, but definitely Saturday. And then Sunday, you have to consider people would have to drive back to their houses. And that's always a concern with Rider games is driving back to their houses. So I just, again, as Waz jumps in and gets into the midst of one of our biggest rants about a Saskatchewan NHL team, we get to the intermission and we'll bring him in right now because we got to get this chat going.
Okay.
And, here he is.
What is going on? Not too much. Enjoying the game. It's been a good game so far.
How about this game?
It's interesting.
Hope you took the over.
Yeah.
Well,
I think a lot of people might have taken the over on this one. But Waz, we were talking just now about an NHL team in Saskatoon.
No, I'd love to see that.
How often does this come up in the Edmonton market? Does it come up ever? Because we almost talk about it daily here.
I don't think so. No, we don't talk about it often. We try to pay attention to what's going on with our team. That's kind of a mess, right? So, but I'd like to see a team in Saskatchewan at least. I think they deserve it. You guys have a great hockey fan base over there. I don't know why it hasn't happened. Maybe just the financially it's not viable, but yeah, there's definitely reasons.
Yeah.
We're having a tough time getting $25 million for a baseball stadium. So
there you go.
Unfortunately, funding an NHL team might be a bit outside of the province's budget.
There's so many good hockey markets in Canada, but it's just not possible. Nova Scotia, just the Maritimes in general. I would love to see a team there. Everyone's saying, "Oh, Quebec," but like these, little I don't know, little towns is the right way to say it, but these parts of Canada have such devoted fan bases. It's great.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So was this game obviously the biggest news coming into this specific game? There was a big breaking news earlier that Derek Ryan was going to miss the game. Derek Ryan.
Huge news. I think Tyson Berry's missing as well. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Some guy that wears 97. I don't know.
And then Nico Koskinen. There was a lot of news this morning in Edmonton.
Oh man.
Jesus.
Anyways, obviously the big news is McDavid's out. So coming into this game, I think a lot of people had some expectations for certain things to happen. Mm-hmm. Not a bad start with that in mind. What do you think about the first period so far?
Honestly, it's not been bad. I think the fact that we've been able to stay competitive is important. We didn't get down after the first goal that was scored. It was kind of a little fluky goal off the board, off Smith, but it sucked to, get scored on first again. It's such a recurring theme. But it was nice to see us get back in the game. It was good to see Perlini, some of the death guys actually getting more involved. Yamamoto with a nice setup to Draisaitl. So it's good to see other players contributing, not named, obviously, Draisaitl and McDavid. Players are definitely stepping up right now, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw Colton Sevier pass it over to Brendan Perlini for the first goal. And then Yamamoto with a nice little play to kind of keep it in the zone and get it over to Draisaitl for an easy one for him. But yeah, awesome to see that. Tell us about the attitude, what's going on in Edmonton, the vibe.
Wow.
The pitchforks, are they coming out? The
100%
is coming out. Like, what's going on?
We need a 35-minute intermission to get through this discussion. But
every time I read through our comment sections on Instagram, especially, it's fire Tippett, fire Tippett. It's like there's a scapegoat here and there, and fire Nicholson, fire Holland, and which, some of these decisions I wouldn't mind. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing Ken Holland maybe get the can, or Bob Nicholson, or Dave Tippett, but it's people just want to change right now. It's simple as that. The fans want to change, and the fact is, I don't know if Dave Tippett's going to get fired because Ken Holland's never fired a head coach in his career. So it's like, I don't know if it's going to happen now. If Toronto beats us, will be the dagger in Dave Tippett's tenure at Edmonton. I don't know. It's so hard to say. And also, of course, Mikko Koskinen is obviously the big scapegoat right now as well on the ice. Everyone's blaming him for the losing, and he came out today and saying, yes, I haven't been playing well, but we're also not playing well as a team, which is, I agree with him.
Mm-hmm. Do you think so I go back to the Oilers, right? The past 5-6 seasons, right? It's just been carbon copy after carbon copy after carbon copy. It's McDavid and Draisaitl, and that's it. So when it comes to the management and coaching side of things, right? Do you think sustainability is maybe what just needs to happen? I understand that the patience has got to be thin from the fan base, but when you see a lot of these teams have some success around the NHL, right? It's sustainability from the GM's chair down to the head coach. Do you think that any Oiler fan is even open to hearing that right now? Because, I mean, there's been coaches that have kind of come and gone through the organization. I think of Todd McClellan, namely. Even he couldn't fix it, and he's a highly well-regarded head coach in this league. Dave Tippett, again, who's had some success, and Ken Holland, one of the winningest GMs of all time, albeit in a great situation in Detroit, but still, same kind of thing. Do you think sustainability from your perspective is something that they need to achieve here, or is it just need to clean house? Daryl Cates needs to just have a meeting with everybody and say, alrighty, we're done with this experiment, and we're going to restart again.
Yeah, it's almost as if like Daryl Cates, or even, you got to consider, like before Bob Nicholson, it was all on Kevin Lowe making all the decisions, all the shots on who gets hired, who gets fired. I think you make a great point. Sustainability, because we haven't really seen much sustainability in Edmonton. It's all been so inconsistent, especially through this McDavid era. We've only been on one little cup run in 2017, and then now we've had we had the Chicago series, then we had the sweep, and other than that, we've had no real success with McDavid. And Todd McClellan, he's a great coach. And I think you do make a great point. I think it does definitely come down to management, that they haven't been able to construct a roster around Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. Albeit we've had some good young players coming through. Darnell Nurse is shaped up to be a good defenseman. Do I think he's worth the contract? No, but he's good. Now we have Evan Bouchard coming through. So, I mean, I think you nailed it. It's like sustainability. And it's as if like Bob Nicholson or Kevin Lowe, they're not hiring the right guys to construct the team. Ken Holland, I know he had a pretty rocky end in Detroit. Red Wings fans kind of warned us. And I was hearing recently that Bill Zito was actually interviewed for the position that Ken Holland took. And now look what Bill Zito's done with the Florida Panthers. Like, he's turned that franchise around. Like, it seems like we can never get like forward-thinking GMs. It's always the old boys club, which is annoying. So
yeah, that has been one of the really main things with the Oilers in the last 20 years, 25 years. Always, somebody who's been somebody in
it's kind of the Montreal of the West, right? It's the old boys club that used to play for the team. Their uncles, kids, cousins played, or they coached or scouted at some point, and it kind of limits you in terms of what you could see from a talent evaluation perspective, business operations. It flows through the entire organization. At least that's what I'm seen anyways for the last 15 years since the Dwayne Rollison Stanley
know.
Cup run in 2006, right? I think it's just kind of one of those things where it's really tough to look at and say, how has this team not achieved success? But when you go to, again, the Connor McDavids and the Leon Draisaitl's, and we've got a hot take Harry question for you coming up at the end of the segment. We got to get your thoughts on this, Waz, because you will be the expert opinion on it. But is it just one of those things where you look at the top level talent of the team? Is that the thing that's maybe been the hindrance? Is we are committed to these two guys. These are guys we're going to sink or swim with, and there's zero question about it. We're not open to even discussing putting one of these guys on the trading block. Is that maybe a bit of a limitation in and of itself when you can't build the basement underneath that foundation?
Yeah, that's tough because, I mean, understandably, maybe because their contracts could be a little heavy, but then again, it's just also the past decisions of general managers that have really hindered this team, and especially salary cap wise. I mean, Ken Holland had $23 million to work with this past offseason, and look what he did with it. Not many improvements with the team. I mean, he makes a trade for Duncan Keith, no salary retained. Like, you could have maybe made some better moves in the offseason, then trading Ethan Bear for Warren Fogle. I mean, I like Warren Fogle, but Ethan Bear, he's still young. He had a lot of he's improving as a D-man. So I don't know if it's Draisaitl and McDavid, because we've seen past organizations like, Pittsburgh Penguins, they had Malkin and Crosby. You look at Chicago with Taves and Kane. Washington had Backstrom and Ovi. That took them forever to win a cup, but they still had regular season success. They were able to build around that. So I don't think it comes down to McDavid or Draisaitl. I think it definitely still comes down to upper management and building that core around them.
Yeah, probably could have not signed Cody Ceci either. That would have been one that you didn't need to commit
honestly,
to.
Cody Ceci,
he's great.
He's been okay for us. He's not been the outlier. Some Oilers fans have actually warmed up to him. He's been all right in that top four pairing. So
for sure.
This is probably a good thing, I think. But Jacob on our YouTube channel here says, "I swear I see that Oilers guy everywhere on my FYP on TikTok." That's a compliment, I would think.
Maybe you might not agree with all my takes, but I try to be kind of somewhat of an Oilers, somewhat of a positive Oilers fan. I try to pump out as much content for the nation as I can. So yeah,
absolutely. I love the amount of engagement that Oilers Nation is able to produce, and of course, the market in Edmonton is well versed in speaking their opinions. I'll say, let's just leave it at that. But I love some of the stuff that you guys put out there to get people going and thinking and talking. And one thing that I always see about the Oilers specifically is if you could bring back one guy who has played with the Oilers in the past, who is no longer there. Eberle comes to mind. Taylor Hall comes to mind.
Come on, Clark. It's Ryan Smith.
Yeah. Who would you bring back in a situation like that?
I mean, or like for the current team?
Yeah, I think he's meaning
right.
Still
people just barged into the room and started yelling at me. What's going on?
So, I mean, Ryan Smith obviously would be awesome.
I would say current player.
Oh, okay, current player. Because honestly, I was thinking potentially bring back Chris Pronger. I know, not a popular name, but he would help this blue line right now.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to think. Maybe a Cam Talbot.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Cam Talbot's not been too terrible since leaving Edmonton. So I think a lot of Oilers fans would be confident with him in net. Jeff Petry's another shout. Maybe Jordan Eberle just to kind of round out that top six as well.
Yeah, he'd be pretty good.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who else.
Got to be Nail Yakupov in that.
Nail Yakupov. We need him back. Like his energy would be
Magnus Svensson-Pärvi.
That'd be great. I'd like to see Anton Belov on the blue line. Nikitin. Oh, there's so many.
Oh, so many.
I tell you what, I really do like Matt Benning on the Nashville Predators third pairing. I must say, Matt Benning has provided some valuable contributions.
Good. I was always curious what happened to him. He kind of just disappeared on us. The Seals
went to Nashville, right? That's just what happens, right?
True.
Absolutely. We need Magnus Pärvi to be on a line with Jesse Puljujärvi and just watch people's heads explode.
Oh, that'd be great.
Tell us about some of the things that need to get looked at in order for this ship to get back on track. Because in my opinion, a lot of people are yelling about goalies right now, and I said this tonight during the game stream. You're yelling about goalies, exactly. Is it a situation where maybe we just need to let Mike Smith get a few more games under his belt? I mean, he is 30. 39, 38, 40 even. And he just came off of like a month and a half, 2 months stretch.
Since October, yeah.
Right. So he didn't play a game.
Yeah.
Given that he's a bit older, do you think he just needs a couple more games to kind of get back into the groove?
There's a possibility of that, because last season I thought he played pretty well when he got a lot of minutes. I thought he actually played well in the Winnipeg series, even though we got swept. I mean, the fact that he was able to go to triple overtime and still stand on his head. So I think he still has the ability to be a goaltender. It's just the fact that you don't know if he's going to stay healthy throughout the season, right? Like, the goaltending situation in Edmonton is not pretty by any means. Ken Holland should have addressed that within the last 3 years he's been here. But I don't know, Mike Smith, I think he does need a few more games under his belt to kind of get going. That's why we were questioning on our pregame show was, well, why wasn't Mike Smith sent down to Bakersfield for like a conditioning stint, right? Why wasn't he given some games down in the AHL before coming back? And it's like Dave Tippett just threw him to the wolves. It's like, oh, you're healthy, go and play. It's annoying, but I do like Mike Smith, but I'm not happy with our goaltending situation, right? I wish Stuart Skinner was sticking around. I thought he was okay. Like, I thought a lot of Oilers fans were thinking he was our best goalie this year so far. Like,
absolutely. Well, yeah, he's put up some numbers. Stuart Skinner always has a special place in my heart as a Regina Pat, the former Regina Pat employee. Given that we beat him when he was with Lethbridge, and then he beat us when he was with Swift Current. So I mean, it is what it is. He got his revenge. But we'll let you go here right away because I know the intermission is getting back, almost over here. But give me a couple of guys that you want to see, maybe see the ice later in the year. I'm talking prospects. Who are the Oilers really looking forward to jumping on the ice later in the year here? Maybe some young blood coming in later in the year.
If he's healthy, I would definitely have to say Dylan Holloway. I think we could really see him coming to the line maybe around April. I was looking at the Oilers schedule, and April is jam-packed. It's like maybe they have 1 day off or 2 days off between games. So Dylan Holloway, if he's healthy, if he gets some game time in the AHL, he's doing well, we can see him called up. Other than that, it's tough to say because it feels like our whole AHL team has been called up with COVID. I was disappointed to see Sam Marukov have that terrible start to the year, or his terrible debut, because there's been a lot of hype around Sam Marukov that he's got some promise, but obviously he still needs to work on his game. So I think Dylan Holloway would be the number one name.
Perfect. Well, I'd be excited to see him. But Waz, we'll let you get going because I know the game's about to kick back off. But thanks for jumping on with us. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, ton of fun.
Thanks
Hopefully we can do it again soon. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. I'll stay in touch. Thanks, buddy. All right. Well, there you go. There's Waz.
Well, we needed about 25 more minutes there.
We barely scratched the surface. That's the typical squad cast. Hey, we ask somebody to come on for like 15, 20 minutes and we're barely scratching the surface. We want to get
conciseness is not our forte. Again, that it goes to our mantra, right? Beyond the box score. Sometimes it takes a little time to go beyond the box score. But you know what? That really got me thinking when he was talking about Stuart Skinner. Explain to me why this guy's not playing for them right now. He's had 10 games, 9 starts, 4-5. So the win-loss record's not great. But again, that could go back to the team itself. He's got a 2.70 goals against average and a 9.16 save percentage. Those are more than respectable numbers at the NHL level. I mean, somebody tell me what's wrong with that.
I think the biggest issue, Max, is that Mikko Koskinen has a no move clause. He can't be sent down. And when Mike Smith is healthy, you can't not have Mike Smith on your roster.
And like you said, like you can get maybe a half a bag of pucks and a partially used roll of stick wax for Mikko Koskinen right now. I just, I don't get it. I don't get it.
No, I get it.
It makes no sense to buy him out either because it's an expiring contract, right? So you're done with him at the end of this season. Again, $4.5 million, which is going to be nice to open up. But yeah, that's a tough spot that they're still paying for the sins of Peter Chiarelli, and I think that's, again, as Waz was saying, right? Management. It's kind of been a bit of a tough thing to swallow for Oilers fans.
But Waz also made a really good point, is Ken Holland had $23 million to play with this offseason, and we're still talking about how mismanaged their cap situation is.
Well, remember, though, too, Clark, I think we discussed this on our show kind of going into the offseason about the Oilers. The deployment of the cap that they had, okay, $23 million was fantastic, but they had a lot of holes to fill even for $23 million. Like we discussed that, right? It was, they needed to get multiple defensemen. They needed to get almost a full line, maybe more of depth forwards for that. And again, addressing the goaltending, which they really didn't do. So for the $23 million that they had to play with, it just, again, not much was accomplished with it. And but the other part of it is there was a lot that was needing to be done, right? We talked about the Nugent Hopkins deal. Obviously, he kind of took a hometown discount in exchange for the no move clause. But oh man, you look at that team and you just wonder, like, why can't they get it going? I like Dave Tippett as a coach. Again, I understand that I'm not an Oilers fan and feeling the frustrations of having such a hot start wasted. Again, having two generational talents that haven't even scratched the surface of what they need to in terms of meaningful hockey. But I don't know. I look at management and I look at the coach, and I don't think those are the things that need to change. This is the 6-year kind of, again, experiment that we've seen. They just got to find a way to get a basement for the foundation, right? We talked about it.
Yeah,
I think maybe that's only the best analogy that we could put to it. So
I'm on team don't fire Dave Tippett.
Yeah, me too.
I feel like I said earlier, I think Mike Smith just needs to get back into a groove. Let him get into that. And if it starts to continue the way it is, if it doesn't stop going the way that it currently is, then maybe you start thinking about it. But I don't think you can fire Dave Tippett right now, given the fact that he hasn't had Mike Smith for 2 months since October. He's had Koskinen and a young Stuart Skinner. And although Stuart Skinner, like you said, has put up some nice numbers, it's still not the confidence of a guy who's kind of backstopped you to some success. It's a couple of guys who you aren't super reliable with and you're just not sure of. And I think that confidence is going to help them as they get back into it with Mike Smith in the crease. That's all I'm saying.
And the only saving grace really is that they are in the Pacific Division, right? This is a team that could play 500 hockey conceivably over the next couple of weeks, 3 weeks, maybe even a month, and still have a shot at the playoffs. But again, it's when it comes down to seeding and it comes down to the identity that you want to have as a hockey team. Again, do you really want to let this negativity continue? Do you really want to even wait 2-3 weeks to allow what could transpire? Because they could very well lose 8 of their next 10, and then they're really in scramble mode. Like again, we'll see what happens. I think it starts tonight, right? This is where you look at it. Like you said, it's Mike Smith's first game back, but oh man, I'm not feeling the Oilers. That's for sure.
The puck is down for the second period, so we will start talking about the game itself again as we get going back into it here. Boom Anna says it's the sport of hockey is a team game. It takes more than one piece to fix it. I just think that's a really kind of good way to wrap up that intermission. Max, just so everyone's aware, let's do a bit of a spiel here. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to our channel while we're on the Squadcast. If you check out the Squadcast show, you can head us up over there on YouTube. Subscribe to us as well if you don't mind what we're doing.
But you're feeling randy on a Wednesday night.
Absolutely. But don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel here, the Hockey Podcast Network, for more of these types of streams all year long. If you're watching on TikTok, make sure to tap the screen, hit the follow button, hit the share button. Let's have a good time over here. We got a comment that says Engvall is better than Richie because hashtag Engvall carries the Leafs. I might have to block that person. No, Brando,
you don't want that kind of negativity in your life.
Absolutely. Also, big shout out to DraftKings. Promo code THPN. If you're using DraftKings, if you're signing up for a new account, you get some sweet deals over there as well. So hit up DraftKings, and shout out to the Hockey Podcast Network for letting us be here tonight. And that's my little spiel. We are watching Leafs Oilers, of course, tonight. 2-2 going into the second period. It has been 2 lucky bounces for the Leafs for their goals, with Mitch Marner getting one. Yeah, Mitch Marner getting one and Willie Nylander getting one. And for the Oilers, it was Brendan Perlini and Leon Draisaitl, of course, just like they drew it up. Brandon Perlini scoring a goal tonight. So
100%.
We're getting back into it here. We're about a minute and a half, 2 minutes or so into the second period. And I have locked in a guest for our second intermission, Max.
Look at you go. Busy.
I'm working on the fly. We said just before we went live, we're going to do this on the fly. And guess who's coming in, Max?
Mike Babcock.
Yes, Mike Babcock will be joining us.
Nailed it.
He's going to break the news that they have fired Dave Tippett, and Mike Babcock is announcing.
Mike Babcock's hopping behind the bench. Nice.
Yeah. Our boy James Roberts, James from Offside Hockey Talk, is going to be joining us in the second intermission to talk a little bit of Leafs hockey tonight. So he's going to give us his Leafs
perspectives. We have to talk more Leafs. We're already watching the game, man. Do we really need to talk more?
Well, I mean, hypothetically, we could talk about other stuff with James. We could talk about beer. We can talk about life, family, kids, his job. We can talk about a lot of stuff. But yeah, we'll talk Leafs with James.
I think we should talk about Harold Ballard's ownership style and why it's better than MLS's.
Wow. That's a bold statement. Let's check with James on that. That's some stories.
Do we get a bathroom break or something at some point? Like, geez, man, you're running me ragged here tonight.
Well, you know what? I was looking at our back end here on the StreamYard channel thing that we're working on here, and I was like, oh yeah, we have breaks. We can take a break. During one of the TV timeouts comes up, Max. We'll hit a break.
Sounds good. Also, you're checking out the back end, sir. You are married. That is, it's not a good thing to be doing.
My job as a media producer is constantly looking at back ends. And that's an industry term, so just be careful with how I say that, I guess. But,
yeah, exactly. That's my point in that statement right there. Yeah.
Basically, that just means like the setup side of different programs is the back end. So
Brandon,
be careful. That's what I'm
holy
about.
Man!
I know.
Oh wow! You almost Bobby Orred it.
That was a close chance.
Cool. That was cool.
Nothing too crazy outside of that chance happening so far in the second period. We're 3 minutes in now. We got Jacob talking about, I think we should talk about why Vegas is the best team.
Well, Jacob, unfortunately, the Nashville Predators kind of beat you last night. So, unfortunately, those Vegas Golden Knights, you know what? We could talk about the Vegas Golden Knights a little bit, though, right? We kind of did on our show last night about Max Pacioretty hitting the long-term IR. And potentially opening up the door to not have to do as much cap maneuvering when Jack Eichel inevitably comes back in the coming weeks or potentially months. That's certainly an interesting note. But I watched that game mostly through last night with the Vegas Golden Knights and Nashville Predators. UC Saros is an absolute stud. We'll just start and end it there. I think he had like 41 saves.
You know what? Let's do that right now before you finish your thought. Who are your top 5 goalies? Put it in the comments right now.
UC Saros
goalies in the NHL.
UC Saros. A guy named UC Saros.
Don't forget UC Saros.
UC Saros and Andrei Vasilevsky
and Jack Campbell.
No.
Yeah,
guy hasn't exactly done it sustainably, but I do love Jack Campbell.
Right.
I hope they protect him at all costs. You know what? Don't Toronto him out of town. How's that sound? You guys just be nice to Jack Campbell.
I'm hoping that we're not Torontoing him out of town in the opposite way that we normally Toronto people out of town, where we overprice, we get his price too high, and then we can't afford him, like we did with Zach.
Well, I think that's already happened.
That happened with Zach Hyman, but it's probably happening with Jack Campbell here.
Oh, it's definitely happening. You're going to lose him.
Oh yeah,
absolutely nothing. And it's going to be hilarious.
For $9 million and $10 million, and he's going to earn every dollar of it.
You know what? What do you think he reasonably is worth, though? Do you think like he gets a Connor Hellebuck type of contract, right? Like a 6/6?
I was just going to say, let's say his numbers stay as they are right now, and he has this good of season all year long. He's got to get at minimum Jacob Markstrom's contract.
Yeah, absolutely.
Philip Grubauer's contract. He's got to get it minimum
without question.
A year. It has to. His numbers are way too good. So I would say that. And now somebody's saying Robin Lehner. Jacob. Sorry, I didn't see it was Jacob. Robin Lehner, Logan Thompson, Laurent Brossoit. Those are his top 3 goalies in the league. Okay, Jacob. Marcus Hunt's checking in. Marcus says, Producer Clark on THPN. What? Yeah, we're here now. We're hanging out. We're having a good time. Janelle. Oh, our girl Janelle is checking in over on the
How you doing, Janelle?
She says, hi, my boys. Janelle, we miss you. We're looking forward to seeing, hopefully, we'd love to get up to Saskatoon, Max. I'd love to go to a Rush game or something for the Squadcast at some point in the next couple months. We'll have to see how that goes. They're all
expenses paid to Saskatoon. Sounds good.
Yeah, maybe we can get a sponsorship. I do know some people with the Rush. We might be able to make it work.
You got ins, as they say. Connections.
Yep. Oh, Myron's checking in over on TikTok as well. If you guys are watching on TikTok.
Oh my gosh, you guys LA Rams'd yourself. I'm just going through Cap Friendly here to see what the type of raise is going to do for Jack Campbell if he stays in Toronto. So he's only getting paid $1.65 million.
Yeah, and that was from the Kings. That was the deal he signed.
Oh man. So you guys are looking at least a 200% increase, at least.
Oh yeah,
probably looking closer to 400%.
It has to be.
You've got $62,000 in cap space, and you have your first, second, and potentially 7th round picks in this coming draft. You guys need to win a playoff round. I think it's time, don't you?
There was time 3 years ago.
Oh my goodness! Wow. You guys
No,
are in trouble.
that's a problem. But here's the thing, Max, is that there's like 16 teams that are in a very similar boat right now with some players.
No. Don't give me that. You guys are hooped.
No, I'm giving
That
you that.
extra year on Nick Ritchie's contract. Oy, boy.
Well, I heard
David
a rumor
Kampf
today,
again. Oh boy.
I heard a rumor today that they might be putting Nick Ritchie on waivers in the next week or two here.
Yeah, I think that needs to happen.
Yeah,
yesterday.
So that's unfortunate. I was hoping for better things with Nick Ritchie, but just hasn't really worked out. Marcus Hunt is saying his top 5 goalies, not in order, are Vasilevsky, Shesterkin, Fleury, Campbell, and Hellebuck. I don't hate that. Fleury, yes, he's had a bit of a rough year. I would put Saros in over Fleury for sure. There's some other guys around the league. Markstrom's having a great year. He's not on that list. Some other guys too. We'll think of some other guys as we go along. But Marcus says, "What's your favorite player on Vegas?" He asked me specifically, but you can answer too, Max. I would say Adam Brooks.
I love the E. I love the E. You're Clark Hay.
Oh yeah, Clarky
with the accent aigu.
Exactly. I would say Adam Brooks is my favorite player on Vegas.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That tracks.
Yeah, tracks. That's on brand, as they say.
Yep.
What about Carey Price? Says Terror of Games. I mean, is he going to play games? Show me a game and show me how he's doing this year, and
I think if you're Montreal, you're at the point you just give him the year off.
So I've heard some Montreal fans say that.
Just give him the year off. Battle through.
Yeah, what's the point? He doesn't even have to get back for the Olympics anymore.
Nope.
So what's the point?
Literally nothing. Get yourself well, Carey, and hopefully you come back into a bit of a better situation. Undoubtedly, they're a better team if he is their starting goaltender. But with that being said, things happening for the Oilers? Oh, boy.
No, I was going to say Janelle just gave me a big update here. Janelle, our girl.
Big update.
She says she has 4 season tickets, and 2 of them are usually open to the Saskatchewan Rush.
Oh, boy, oh, boy.
So we might have to go to a Rush game with Janelle.
The Rush.
I've never been to a Rush game. Have you?
I haven't been to a Rush game. I hear it's a hell of a time though.
Like I feel like
unpatriotic.
Yeah.
Well, they've been around for 3 years now? 3 seasons? 4 seasons?
At least 4. It's got to be 4 at least.
Yeah.
No, they had a team when I was still in Estevan. I think they got their team. So I'm going to say it's been 5 or 6.
Fair enough. Did you play lacrosse back when you were a youngster?
Did you ever play interlacrosse?
What's interlacrosse?
Okay, so it was in elementary school for me, and I know I'm a couple years older than you, but we're not that far off.
Yeah, you're old.
What? It was in a gym. Sorry, no, it was in like a hockey rink. But like, do you remember those old hockey rinks that were by the Brandt Center, but they were like old buildings before they tore it down to build Mosaic Stadium?
No.
See, they were like skate parks, like indoor skate parks, but there was a couple that were like converted to like flooring hockey rinks for like box lacrosse.
Yep. That's what I played growing up.
Do you played box lacrosse?
Yep.
Oh, see, I never did. But I played interlacrosse, and it was like no equipment or anything, but you had like plastic sticks and like an orange ball, like a street hockey ball.
Gotcha.
And that's what you used. So goalies had equipment, but it was just like, I don't know, it was regular. I think it was basically box lacrosse, but it was just like basically intramural.
It was the soft version of lacrosse where there was no cross-checking. Yeah. That's the biggest thing I remember about lacrosse was that cross-checking was like your main means of doing any sort of contact. And I would always get hit like right on the spot where there was no padding. I remember those were some of the worst bruises I ever had in my life. And it was just so counterintuitive from playing hockey, right? It was because that was the way that you got physicality in the game of lacrosse, and the sticks were a little bit smaller, but it was a lot of fun. There's not a lot more athletic things. Like when you watch a lacrosse player cradle a ball down the court, like it's unbelievable. See, that would be bad. Actually, it's probably not even called a court, is it? Regardless, it's one of the most athletic things to watch. You can just get mesmerized by like watching some of the athletic endeavors that these guys do. These guys and girls do. I'm sure it's played for both genders, but it's a really exciting game. So I'd certainly not be opposed to going up and seeing a Rush game by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. Myron says you guys are going to love lacrosse. Mark my words. Janelle says, what? My boys, you must get to a game. Give me a date. But yeah, the only disadvantage is I'll be there too. That's what Janelle said. So Janelle, that would be the over advantage. That would be the plus advantage that you get there. We want to
call that a power play.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, people are making fun of me, saying that I'm old. That's Sheridan, so it is what it is. But
it's okay,
Marcus,
man. Mike Smith's old too. That I see why you are heavily in the Mike Smith camp now, right? You're old, he's old.
10 years
you just
older
want
than
him to have success, right? You live vicariously through Mike Smith's success.
You know, it's funny. Actually, he's my older brother's age. Now that I think about it,
like 39, 40.
My brother's turning 40 this in a couple weeks,
Nice.
And so he's the same age. Interesting.
Nice.
Yeah, I always thought Mike Smith was for some reason in my head he was a 70s baby, but he would have been 82 then, huh? Would be his birth year.
Is that tracks? That's math.
I think that's math.
That's math.
But either way, we digress. Let us know what you guys are thinking about this period so far in the comments. Make sure you guys are blowing up the comments. Also, let us know where you're watching from. I know I asked earlier, but I didn't really fully ask. Put in the comments right now if you're watching on YouTube or even on TikTok. Where are you tuning in from? Let's hear. I want to hear what kind of range we got here. So let us know. I'm curious. Janelle is sending roses over on TikTok. Thank you, Janelle. I appreciate that greatly. And a bubble tea. I could really use it. I got a bit of a cough developing here. And I keep pounding the bubbly water. I got a tea earlier. So I got lots of liquids here.
You got the Decepticon, didn't you?
I really don't think I did.
I think you might have.
It's really not that bad.
I think you got the Megatron. Absolutely. Zero question. You did it.
I guess I should go into protocol, huh?
Probably. Aren't you already?
I'm not technically, but
yeah, I guess. Yeah. Geez, look at you not following rules.
Connor
McDavid is.
Janelle is literally flooding me with roses right now over on TikTok. And if that sounds weird for people who don't know what TikTok is or don't use it, it's great. Janelle's a legend. So thank you, Janelle. You're killing it over there. Lucknow, small town in southwestern Ontario. That's where Rip and Geno's is watching from. Barrie, nice. Ontario. Nova Scotia. We got Jacob checking in. Henderson, Nevada. Marcus watching from right outside of Las Vegas.
Home of the Henderson Silver Knights, I can only assume.
Absolutely. What else is in Henderson? There's got to be some other stuff going on in Henderson. Ooh, ouch.
Kind of sounds like the Regina to oh.
Somebody just got right in the ankle from Austin Matthews.
Nice.
Not something you normally want to do. Oh, man. There's a delayed call here, and the Leafs are just peppering Mike Smith. Peppering him. Well, there might be two penalties coming up here. There might be two penalties coming up here.
You guys are going on a 5-on-3? Oh, boy.
It might be. Jeez. What a sequence. Oh, Michael Bunton's getting...
Oh, yeah. There's a trip right there. Now. Yeah.
There might be two penalties coming in here because there was one, and then Bunting got tripped. Markham. Myron's watching in Markham. Kitchener-Waterloo is where It's Popper is watching from. Simo is watching in Pittsburgh, but he's originally from down under, if I'm not mistaken, Simo. Fort Erie is Pretty Fly Dad. Katie Fleury, our girl Katie Fleury, is watching in Pence. Of course, Pence, Saskatchewan. Bouctouche, New Brunswick. Am I saying that right? Bouctouche?
Oh, right off the ankle. Yikes.
Yeah, that doesn't feel good anytime you get one there.
Anyways, that's a television timeout. I think maybe it's time we take our.
Is it time we take a timeout? All right, we're going to do it. We'll be right back on YouTube. I'm going to hang out on TikTok, but see you guys in I don't know how long this break is. A minute? Let's go with a minute. All right, we're back. Max isn't back yet, but I'll talk for now. I was just telling everybody what Hockey Podcast Network is. So if you're watching already on YouTube, you're one step ahead of everybody. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. But for those who don't know, we are jumping on. We already have a podcast called The Squadcast. I have a TikTok channel called @ProducerClark, which you can kind of see right here for me. Take away the underscore though at the end for TikTok. But either way, we have a show ourselves called The Squadcast, myself and Max, every Tuesday night. We talk about all sorts of sports, hockey being one of the main ones, of course, but we also go into baseball and NFL and stuff too. But we did a live stream for a Leafs Predators game about 2 months ago, I guess, a month and a half ago now. And we got in touch with this Hockey Podcast Network. They saw our stream, and I already kind of knew the people who are running it just through Twitter and stuff. But they reached out and said, "Do you guys want to do streams with us?" And we said, "Yeah, let's do it." We wanted to kind of branch out and partner with some people anyways. We were just talking about that, and we thought it was a natural fit. So why not? I'm going to mute Max so he doesn't make a bunch of room noises as he walks back into his room. But we thought, why not? It seemed like a perfect fit for us at the time as Max walks back in. And here we are on the Hockey Podcast Network now in our second stream. We should have been done 4 or 5 or 6 at this point, but we had a bunch of cancellations and the World Juniors got canceled and stuff. So it was kind of just bad timing for all that. But we're here now and we're looking forward to doing more streams. Max, one thing, if you could kind of take over for a sec, I just have to get that link to James.
Okay. Anybody see Spider-Man No Way Home? That movie was something. I tell you what. Anything happen? Looks like the Leafs are struggling to get their power play set up here.
They are. There was a bit of they had a couple chances in the first minute or so, but then it's kind of been a scramble ever since they switched to the second unit.
Nice.
Yeah, it happens.
It's the Leafs, is what it is.
You know what? They have one of the hottest power plays in the league, so don't be saying
it doesn't look like it.
Don't be saying it's the Leafs.
Doesn't look like it, but that's all right. Wow. I've been proven wrong once before. Oh, yep. Nice dangle at the blue line, Spezza. That way you're earning your $725K.
Spezza's a legend. So I just sent it to James. So again, second intermission, we're going to be joined by Offside Hockey Talk host James Roberts. He's going to be joining us from the Maritimes. Okay. We're going to have to see what happens here, Max. Mitch Marner.
Sound very jovial.
You'll see it in a sec here. Mitch Marner goes in, gets a decent chance.
Off the post.
Yeah. Is that Wes McCauley? I totally didn't even see. Is Wes McCauley ref in this game?
Yes, sir.
He is. Look, you can see it right here.
They have legend himself.
Right here. Wes McCauley.
I
missed the replay. I should have watched
Wes knows best.
He was right on the line, so he would have had the best view at it on the ice. Yeah, no goal. But the horn went wild. So the game day staff at the old Scotiabank Arena, I think, got a little excited there.
Have you guys changed your awful goal song yet?
Nope.
Oh boy. Maybe that's why you guys can't win around. Change the personnel, change, everything except the god-awful goal song. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Maybe just a thought.
Oh, Andrew says, Max, don't tell him anything about that movie. No spoilers, please.
I'm not saying anything. If you're on TikTok, though, it's likely been spoiled.
Wow, yeah. Are you serious, Chris? Thanks for the follow over on TikTok. I appreciate you. You can't find it on YouTube. Katie, you just got to look it up. THPN. Ooh, Janelle. Janelle, our girl Janelle, sending a money gun over on TikTok. Thank you so much, Janelle. You're the best.
It sounds like a slot machine of stuff that you're getting. It's like, oh, I hit a rose petal. Wow. I have thing.
There's some unbelievable people over on TikTok, and I can't say thank you enough to those people who support me over there. Greatly appreciate it. Katie, you just got to look up the Hockey Podcast Network. I think that's the YouTube channel, right? I know that's what it's called, but what's the actual channel itself, the page itself? I think
link's on our Facebook post. If you're having trouble, Katie, go to our most recent Facebook post, and that'll take you straight there.
Yeah, Katie, just head over to the Squadcast Facebook page. We got the link right there for you. You can go check it out. Can you play your goal horn, Andrew? It's "You Make My Dreams Come True" by Hall & Oates, and it's just one of those songs.
Ironically, the Leafs don't make any fans' dreams come true. That's kind of funny. Sorry, just an observation. Just an observation.
That was a good one. No, that was a good one.
Nailed it. Crushed it.
And so here's the thing about that song, and I think this is one of the main reasons they haven't changed it yet. In a bit of a conspiracy theory on my behalf here. They just got paid big money by Scotiabank. Scotiabank's biggest campaign right now uses that song. And I have a feeling that they want as much recognition with that song being connected to the Leafs and good positive things as possible. So they kind of, I bet in their contract somewhere, they have some sort of clause that's like, for the next few years, have that song, because every time the Leafs score, people are happy. They hear that song. Then they hear a Scotiabank commercial. They hear that song. They're like, oh, I like it. It's happy. I'm positive. I have a feeling that's what it is. Just my little conspiracy theory for the night.
Leafs just getting in their own way again.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if they can't win a playoff round because of their goal song, they've got bigger problems than their roster construction.
Oh, I don't know, man. I've thought of everything else I possibly can. There's no reason.
Last year specifically, there was no reason. The years before that, they came up against some pretty decent teams. I don't know if you remember.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember.
Get Ryan Leslie back on here to put you in check, because
Ryan Leslie would start verbally slapping me right now.
There's no way you guys should have lost to the Columbus Blue Jackets in the bubble.
Okay,
absolutely no chance.
That was one. But I'm talking about like
shouldn't have happened.
Boston, Washington, Boston again.
Well, sometimes you got to get over the you got to confront your fear.
Slay the dragon. You got to slay the dragon.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know, man. Sometimes there's just some teams that are just a little bit soft. I don't know. Is what it is.
Leafs and bourbon, which is something that I think some Leafs fans are very familiar with. Leafs and bourbon being a combination that happens a lot.
Especially in April.
Yeah, exactly. What's wrong with our power play? It's looking weak.
Everything.
It's a really weird time. They were coming off such a good stretch, and their power play was so good right before all this COVID stuff happened. And they've been off. They've had guys injured, not practicing. They had guys coming back from injury, getting into the lineup for the first time, like Mikheyev, for example. Not that he's on the first unit power play, but other guys are not playing tonight, and it's just like it's just kind of a messy time. So I think it's just sloppy more than anything. I wouldn't say that it's looking weak. I think it's just sloppy. They just haven't had any consistency lately, so it's all just messy. And that's not the Leafs. That's every team. Like every team's right now in a similar boat. Max, you were just saying yesterday during the Squadcast how many high-scoring games there were right now because everyone's just sloppy right now.
Happy over season to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to DraftKings and place a bet, make sure you do so on the over, because it's likely to hit. I don't have the exact percentage in front of me, but if I'm going by at least what I've seen from the return of this unwelcome break, there's been a lot of high-scoring hockey games. So if you're going to be betting on every single game, I'd say you're likely coming out on the profitable side of things when it comes to hitting the overs since the restart of the NHL.
Yeah, James from Offside Talk also just chimed in and said sloppy. I agree. I think that's mostly it. It's just funny. Kurt on the YouTube feed says, well, now I don't like that song anymore. 5 minutes ago, I loved it.
Yep.
Well, I'm sorry for bursting your bubble, Kurt. I didn't mean to do that. That's funny, though. Is Marner cursed on the power play? Asked Craig on TikTok. I don't think he's cursed. He is literally the setup guy. That's his job on that power play. His job is to set everybody up. So I think he's referring to him not scoring power play goals. I would like to see him start scoring goals on the power play. I'm not going to say I'm super pumped that he doesn't score power play goals, but literally his job on there is to feed Max. You like to refer to this all the time, but his job is to feed the 35 million other dollars on the power play and make them score goals. So, and he does a pretty good job at it. Let's be honest. Their power play has been quite good all season outside of maybe tonight. We got Kerfoot with Tavares and Nylander out there right now. With Cassian, who's 16? Should I know? Oh, Tyler Benson, my boy, Tyler Benson.
There you go. I was going to say Jujar, but he is in Chicago.
He is in Chicago. He might be on concussion protocol still from that.
Yeah, that Trouba hit was not exactly a good one for Jujar Khaira. No.
Mm-hmm. Was the Allmark signing necessary for the Boston Bruins? That's a good question, especially now that we're seeing all these reports of Tuukka Rask coming back. I'm going to say yes. At the time it was, because you can't go into the season with really, I mean, Swayman had a decent year last year, but let's call him unproven. And they lost Dan Vladar they traded him to the Calgary Flames.
Traded him to Calgary.
So you can't go into the season with Swayman and nobody else, really. And who else were you going to sign? Were you going to turn into, like the Oilers brought back Smith and Koskinen, Devin Dubnyk's out there. Like, there wasn't a ton of like superstar goalies necessarily, outside of maybe Grubauer, of course, who was coming off a really good year. But I would say that Allmark, yes, that was a good signing by the Bruins. It just hasn't necessarily been an A+ result yet. But that doesn't mean it's not going to. He signed there for what, 4 years?
4 years, yep.
So there's still time for that to really pay off. And he has.
And I mean, if you look at his numbers, it's really not been that bad. Him and Swayman both have been providing, again, not league-altering goaltending numbers, but I mean, a 2.58, 9.17 for Linus Allmark and a 9-5 record and 14 starts. And then Jeremy Swayman, 23 years old, kind of going to likely be the future of the franchise in terms of who's going to be guarding the pipes. 15 starts, 8-5 with 2 overtime losses and a 2.20 goals against and a 9.20 save percentage. They've been getting decent goaltending. Like, that certainly hasn't, they just haven't played enough games. I think that's the biggest thing for Boston right now. Is that once they use these games in hand, you're going to really see them probably jump up in the standings a little bit here. Ultimately, everybody's going to play ideally the same amount of games, provided that, again, knock on wood, that COVID doesn't have any more disruption to this season. But yeah, when it comes to Boston, I mean, I certainly like the Allmark signing. I don't think he's certainly been the cause of any sort of disparaging issues. I think it's just the Bruins got to catch up in terms of games played.
The City Life Project says Tyler Benson, former Giants stud. Fun fact, when the Regina Pats were going on their big playoff run and then the Memorial Cup run, I was on the acquire Tyler Benson train hard, and I was this close, Max, to marching into John Paddock's office one day and being like, how do we get Tyler Benson on this team? Because I feel like we need the kid. He'd be really good with Sam Steele, just saying. But no, it never ended up happening. But I am a big fan of Tyler Benson, and he was really good in junior hockey. I see that James is logged in. James, we're coming your way in just a couple minutes here, my good man. We could always bring James in a little early, too. I don't think that's going to hurt anybody's feelings.
No, I might hurt his, though, if I continue to talk about the Leafs. Sorry, James.
James, let's bring you in. Why not? Ooh, Janelle thank you, Janelle. You're killing it tonight. There's James from Offside. James, how is it? How are you now? What are you doing tonight? Obviously watching some hockey, but how's it going with you?
Not too bad, guys. Just had a little bit of a long day at work, so just relaxing. Drinking some good old Timmy's to keep myself awake here on the East Coast, obviously a little later than you guys. So just enjoying the game, man. It's been a bit of a sloppy game, but as I said in my video today, I'm pretty pumped to see Zach Hyman. Sucks there's no fans for him, though. I really want to see that fanfare.
You know what? There would have been some tears, I think, if this was a full arena for this game tonight with that tribute. There would have been some. He was that well liked in this market of the Maple Leafs nation. We all know that. James, before we go any farther, because we're on our own new channel here with the Hockey Podcast Network, let us know about Offside Hockey Talk. Give people a little bit of a plug here so they know kind of where you're coming from.
Offside Hockey Talk started in 2016. Just a fun way to talk about hockey, talk about the Leafs, talk about the NHL. Funny enough, talking about Zach Hyman, we did some work with the Markham Royals, which Zach owns, Stu Hyman. So we're all over the hockey map. We get to do some things with the Thunderbirds and the NLL as well. So, I mean, if you're looking for good hockey talk, why not? Clark Monroe sometimes swings by. You might know him. He might even be on this feed right here. Same thing with Ritzy. Love him. It's always a good time. But no, man, we just talk hockey, and anybody and everybody's welcome. Never exclude anybody. Everybody's opinion's valid. I love having guests on from all walks of life, all leagues for that matter too. And we've had some pretty fun names on there, like Jeff Merrick, Ken Reed, you name it throughout the hockey landscape. So yeah, Offside Hockey Talk, man. The monkey here is where hockey comes to talk, and it's true.
And if you are a Leafs fan, they have had, Terry Koshan's been on often. David Alter comes on often. Some really good reporters in the Toronto market as well. So you get some really good insights and perspectives if you are a Leafs fan. So make sure you check them out. It's been far too long since I've been on with you and Josh. I got to get on with you guys again. So keep inviting me so that I can eventually come on with you guys because I want to get on there again. We're just seeing some highlights here, James, as we come through. Did you see that one where McLeod had a wide open net with Campbell sprawling and he just totally didn't put it into the net? He put it right into Campbell's pads.
Well, I said it on live. I thought it was going in. You have Campbell doing the backstroke, swimming butterfly there, and it just happens to hit him and then hit the. I think it was either Sandine or Dermott's glove as well, so it stays out of the net. But absolutely, like I said to you guys in the chat, I think it's a sloppy kind of game tonight. And Jeff Merrick and Elliot Freeman had talked about it. You're going to see a lot of games like this because guys coming back at a protocol, their games are not A1. They're not all William Nylander coming off 10 days of COD and start scoring at a prolific rate. But, guys will be jelly-legged, especially going into the third period. I think this third period here, whoever's got more gas in the tank is going to win it because I think everybody's gassed out. And it's just the way it is. And, you look at the schedule too. It's hard to get excited to watch hockey because you never know what game is going to be played or, what game is going to go forward because you look at the schedule and say, oh, Toronto's supposed to play Montreal, but now they're not. Toronto's supposed to play this game. Well, now they're not. And then you say, okay, well, is this game going forward? So even as a fan, there's a little bit of like mental fatigue of trying to figure out, are they going or not? And I mean, even the most diehard fans are looking up the schedule and saying, okay, is this game actually happening tonight?
I've had that thought so much, and it actually has hurt my it's hurt my fantasy hockey because I kind of zoned out there for a little bit, and I'm like, oh shoot, games are on again. And then I missed a day or two here and there. Either way, it has been kind of a weird couple of weeks for everybody across the NHL. I can't imagine working for the league right now just with the amounts of schedule changes. There's a bunch of stuff going on right now across the league where the Islanders are switching home games with teams so that they can get an American game in now and a Canadian game in later in the year and things like that. It's just I can't imagine
hockey schedule out there, boys. I tell you what, that's exactly what's happened with our schedule in the old beer leagues here. So we're supposed to play the Scrubs one night, but let's just flip that game. We'll kick that can down the road, and we're going to play the River Rats tomorrow night. It's they're pulling out all the stops, and that's including making some maybe inauspicious schedule changes across the league. So.
Well, it's across the board too. You look at the media members, like you're talking about. We had David Alter on last week. And, him talking about trying to figure out flights and is he going this place? He's booked to go on a plane, but then he's got to get a red eye to get back because no one's playing. And then trying to get into places, too, at the same time with the government and what they've got restrictions on. You're always questioning and wondering what's happening. And he said it's just a headache a little bit, right, to try to figure out where you're going to be. So you can sympathize with everyone. And you look at the players, too. We just talked about it, right? I mean, they're probably in the same boat, sitting there every day doing their COVID test, wondering if they're going to get back into a game.
It's taxing, it's tiring, everybody's getting exhausted, that's for sure. And it's not even just the physical exhaustion, it's the mental exhaustion that goes along with it too, right?
Yep.
Exactly. And on top of it, Max, we talked about this earlier, but there's a lawsuit going on with 21 teams involved across the NHL for insurance stuff. Oh man, I cannot imagine working for the league right now. It would be a nightmare every day. But let's talk about
absolute nightmare. Everything is just crazy.
Let's talk about the games that are happening and tonight specifically. Obviously, I made this joke earlier, but the big news was Derek Ryan is out tonight. But obviously, the big news is that Connor McDavid was out tonight. Tyson Barrie, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is out with an injury. The Oilers come in majorly shorthanded, and they're putting up a pretty big fight right now. I don't know if it's sloppiness for the Leafs or if the rest of the Oilers are just pulling up their bootstraps, but what were your expectations coming in and how have you seen the first 40 minutes, James?
Sorry, boys, I'm having a little bit of audio issue. I can't really hear Clarkie.
Oh, sorry. That might be, is that on me? Max, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay. How about myself, James? Can you hear me?
No, both of you are pretty low. 1 second here.
Gotcha.
Interesting. That might, I don't know if that's on us or on you, James, but
technical difficulties. It's on
Yeah.
nobody.
Yeah, you guys
It's
were
just on
really,
the
it was
technical
perfect
world.
for a moment and really quiet. So I don't know what's happening here.
We'll take James off for just a sec. James, give us a thumbs up when you can hear us. I don't know, maybe if he has to disconnect and reconnect back in, James, and we'll get you back in here in a sec. It looks like he's going to go do that right now. But yeah, he is. I think he just jumped out. So he'll be back in a sec. Somebody was asking what I'm drinking because I cracked a can right by my
You've had
iPad.
like 6 of those tonight, sir. Good Lord.
I got to keep the throat lubricated, Max, or it's going to start turning into a coughing fit every couple of seconds. Let's see.
Jeez.
James, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Good.
Well, I was saying earlier, and you didn't react, so I'm pretty upset. But the big news coming into the game was that Derek Ryan was out. And then
I was heartbroken, absolutely heartbroken. I wanted to see him really do well tonight. You know, he brings an A game every night, plays hard against the opponents, and
that's what
really gets pucks in deep.
That's what Max said. But obviously,
well versed in adjusting on the fly when it comes to the guys that are in and out of the lineup. Good work, James. Nailed it.
Obviously, McDavid, Tyson Barrie, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins with an injury. Derek Ryan is no slouch. He's still a pretty good player. But the Oilers coming in here shorthanded. What were your expectations coming in, and how have you seen the first 40 minutes?
Well, I said it last night. Actually, got to talk with Zach Lang of Oilers Nation and Daily Faceoff last night about this game and just everything going on around the Oilers. And I really think that Toronto took them lightly for one in the first period. You look at a team that's in turmoil. Their locker room's kind of a mess. You know, you got the coach going after the goalie going after the coach, taking a swipe at the forwards. So everything was in the hands of the Edmonton Oilers to lose this game and come out kind of flat, but they didn't. And, you know, they had scored on first, yes, but once they scored that goal from Perlini, everything went to their legs. You look at Leon Draisaitl, it's the Evgeny Malkin effect, right? When Crosby goes out of the lineup, Draisaitl, same thing. When McDavid's out, he takes that next level, that next step, puts the team on his back and runs with it. So I said it last night, I thought the Oilers were going to win this game. This is kind of a must-win for them if they want this group to go forward, if they want Tippett to stay the coach. So they're looking at this as like a Game 7 situation where you got to win, or otherwise there's going to be huge angst within the fan base, and then obviously huge angst amongst the coaching staff and the players and everything, right? So this is one I think the Oilers need to win. And I look at the first 40 minutes and I say the Oilers are doing everything not to lose. So really it's the Leafs game to win. And after watching Marner hit that post, it's like, yeah, it's right there for the Leafs.
Well, and the other thing too is we both mentioned it, Max and I. The Leafs goals haven't necessarily been pretty. They've been garbage goals, bounces, backboard bounce, and really terrible angle shot bounce. And now not terrible angle on TJ Brody's behalf. He did a good job there, but obviously lucky bounces for both. Whereas the Oilers, that Draisaitl goal was a result of a really hard-working play by Yamamoto, keeping the puck in the zone. And Colton Sevier coming in with Brandon Perlini on a 2-on-1, and Morgan, I can't remember if it was Morgan Riley on the ice, but making a nice move to make that goal happen. So the Oilers, I think, in parts of this game have been outplaying the Leafs in a sense, but there has been a lot of puck possession by the Leafs, and they are looking good for a decent majority of this game. They just haven't been putting it in the back of the net. James, what do you think? What do you think about the Leafs coming into the break of what happened, obviously with COVID going out or coming in and kind of wrecking a bunch of schedules? The Leafs coming into that break and now coming out, what are your hopes for the next couple of weeks for them?
Well, going into that the break, I was saying this earlier actually on the live we were doing. Wayne Simmons and Jason Spezza were really doing well. I thought Simmons really found his game. The jump was there, the goal scoring. It really seemed like he was starting to gel within that lineup. Same thing like with Andre Kasha and Camp, really looked good. But now coming out of it, I mean, you got a guy like Ilya Mikheyev. His wrist looks good. I mean, he looks like he's got confidence again, using the puck, dangling the puck, shooting the puck, doing things that he looked timid to do last year after coming back from that wrist injury. So he looks a lot more confident. I don't know what was said to him. I don't know if it's in his own mind. Hey, if I don't play well, I'm not going to get the role I want, and maybe I won't be here. Or maybe if I play well, maybe they will trade me at the deadline for something they want for this lineup. But the expectation for me is I want this team to figure out different combinations throughout their lineup. I want them to flip Marner down with Tavares. I want Nylander to play up. I want Kerfoot to go to the third line, be a center. I want to see all of these different things because when the playoffs come and you need to make adjustments to do like the Boston Bruins do when they break up the perfection line and put Pasternak down in the second line, I want to see the Leafs be able to do those things, but still continue the continuity because the players know how to play with each other. And I don't mean to sound like that. I know everybody can laugh at that one, but I really want them to be able to slot into different spots and do what they need to do.
Absolutely. Max, what you got?
Well, I wasn't sure how I wanted to approach this, James. I was going to be a little snarky and say, you know what, who are the Toronto Maple Leafs going to play in the first round and why will they lose to them? But it's entirely too early for that. Obviously, the Leafs have had a great start, all kidding aside, this, that, and the other thing. We were talking about it earlier, though, James, about Jack Campbell and what is he the answer? Is he the guy that you can't Freddie Anderson him? This is the guy that you invest in. Have you seen enough from him as the long-term goaltender for the future, or at least the immediate future of the franchise? And who's maybe the expendable piece that's possibly going to end up having to go to accommodate the big raise that he so deserves?
Well, right now, I mean, with what comes off the books and depending on who you bring back, the money may already be there. So that may be an easy thing to fix right away. I said it to Clark numerous times. If you're the Leafs, you say, hey, Campbell, 4.5 for 4 years. That's the deal. And that's what I would give him. And the reason why I'm so confident in giving him that is I've got to speak with people within the LA Kings organization who watched this guy and did not see what we're seeing here in Toronto, not just confidence-wise, but play-wise, battle-wise, between the ears, after games when he was beating himself up. Things have changed. He's understood. He has teammates that are backing him up. He really likes the market. He likes what he's doing here. He's growing not only as a player, but as a person as well. So that all bodes well for Jack Campbell. And like I said, knowing what I know about him previously and what he has now, as you can see, I'm rocking the Campbell jersey tonight. So, I mean, I would invest in this goaltender. I think what you're seeing is the real deal, the real McCoy. The only thing is with the Leafs, and we've seen this so many times, is they get a goaltender that they like, but they don't have a second one to play with them. And Petr Mrazek, albeit probably is that guy, I think the price tag is too high, and I do think you see the Leafs try to move away from that deal some way, somehow. The red flag is there for the injuries, but you look at what they have in the system. They have Joe Wall. They have Ian Scott, which they're still very, very, very high on, and then Colligren as well as in the AHL, putting up some pretty good numbers. And then you have Hutchison there too. So you have a conglomerate of goaltenders that you may be able to turn to, and at a cheaper price, which will allow you to spend that money on Jack Campbell, maybe even shore up and bring something in your bottom six for your defense or your bottom six of forwards, whatever you want to do. But yeah, and Clark, you know me, I'm steady beating the drum. I want the Leafs to get Braden McNabb. I really think that's the guy. He's a Jake Muzzin-esque type. If Muzzin goes down, then you have a guy who can elevate the lineup and play. So yeah, man, I mean, Campbell, yes, sign him, keep him. Do whatever you need to do it. But I really think with what's coming off the books, they can afford him. And I think it is going to be in a ballpark of a 4-year deal because obviously he's going to be over 30. Giving him an 8-year or a 7-year deal doesn't make any sense. So I think the AAV will be about 4.5 to 5, and you run with it from there. And I just hope he stays healthy and can play really well like he's been doing. That's all.
I just hope that his price point hasn't doubled from that given his performance. And I know it's I mean, over the course of the big scheme of things, it's a somewhat small sample size, but at the same time, it was pretty much all last season. And this year he's putting up top 3, Vezina vote candidate type numbers. Now he has to keep doing it. And I see Max over there. His gears are starting to turn on ways to chirp us.
If you guys can get him for 4.5 to 5 million, you signed that deal yesterday. I personally,
listen. The only reason why I think it will be that is exactly what Clark just said about the whole. Hey, it hasn't been a long track record for one, and for two. Okay, you're Jack Campbell. You're doing well here. Everything fits and clicks. Okay, and we all love a feel-good story, and that's what this is right now. Jack Campbell is a feel-good story for the Toronto Maple Leafs. If he goes to a different market, is he going to bring the same kind of play? Will this still happen? Will this be the right thing for him to go play, say, for the Minnesota Wild or the Edmonton Oilers? Is that going to be the same kind of fit for him whatever the scheme is here in Toronto works for him, and that's why he's bringing out that kind of game for himself. So I don't know. I think 4.5 to 5, yes, and I think the Leafs can lean on the fact that, hey, there's no track record there. You've given us a season and a half of this play, but here's what we're willing to give you. Maybe they come to an agreement of maybe a 1-year show-me deal, and then they pay him. But I really think that you'll have to look at all factors. You have to look at the market you're playing in, your teammates, the defense in front of you, everything that breaks down and why it clicks and why it fits. Because we all know chemistry in between the years for goaltenders is huge. You look at Sergei Bobrovsky, when things aren't going right with the team, he's not going right. But when things are going right, he's a great goaltender. So it goes that way with a lot of goaltenders, I think, anyways. You look at a guy like Cam Talbot, went to the Minnesota Wild and blew the doors off, but couldn't get it going anywhere else. So it really depends on the fit and how you feel there. And I think Jack Campbell feels well here. And I mean, $5 million in his pocket probably isn't anything too bad. But hey, it is a business, and maybe he takes a big deal and runs. I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm a little worried about. I'm looking at the Linus Ullmark deal in Boston, 4 years, $5 million, and that to me seems like it could be a pretty good. If they could, like Max said a minute ago, if they can sign a deal like that, I think you do it now. Like, do it. I wish they would have signed it before the season even started, just to get it out of the. Now we don't have to be talking about it today. But it's funny that you mentioned Cam Talbot. We had Waz from Oilers Nation on in the first intermission. You've probably seen Waz if you're on TikTok at all. Or anywhere. He's all over the place with Oilers Nation. But he said that Cam Talbot might be the guy. If you were to bring back an Oiler that's no longer an Oiler, current player, he said Cam Talbot. I was thinking, Taylor Hall or Jordan Eberle or Jeff Petrie. He said Cam Talbot. And I was like, wow, that's interesting, because they had Cam Talbot. They could have kept Cam Talbot, and they didn't in Edmonton. They let him go because obviously he had a rough go there as well. But interesting that he said that.
Well, we were talking again, like I was talking to Zach Lang, same thing, Oilers Nation. When you're talking about the defense that the Edmonton Oilers let go, you look at Jones, you look at Ethan Bear, and then you just mentioned Jeff Petrie. Those were all defensemen with the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, imagine those guys with the Oilers right now, where Ethan Bear's playing top left flight minutes with Jakob Slavin. Jones is no slouch, definitely be a good bottom pairing defenseman for you. And then, of course, Jeff Petrie could probably anchor one of your top two, right? So it's just weird. I guess hindsight's always 20/20, but I mean, I think the Oilers need to start holding on to guys and let them mature and grow into the players that they need to be, and not hold on to Mike Smith, who's just dipping in the fountain of youth a bit too much.
Thank you, James. Exactly. They've already had Dwayne Rollison. They've already ran the old goaltender train completely dry. That's just where we're at with things, I think. And as far as I'm concerned, Mike Smith, unfortunately, and Jeff Merrick probably, and again, I know that you're an avid fan of Jeff Merrick, James. He's just permanently got the hospital bracelet on. It's one of those things where, unfortunately, at his age, the position of goaltender is a very, very tough one to play when you're in your prime. It's a tough one to stay healthy at when you're in your mid-20s, let alone your late 30s. So I think for the Oilers, he can play all the great goaltending that he wants, but are you going to be able to rely on him in the postseason with a game every other night? Are you going to be able to rely on him in a condensed schedule down the stretch? Unfortunately, I think there's just way too many ifs and buts with that equation. And I think you're 100% right. I think it's the Oilers have to address the goaltending before the trade deadline. And if you're in that mode of you need to make sure that Connor and Leon are still happy, and you're not going to part with a Leon Draisaitl, which again, me and Clark were going back and forth on the alternate universe scenario where the Oilers entertain the notion of fixing all their problems by dealing probably the most valuable trade asset in the league in Leon Draisaitl. It has to get solved. And even if it's your first and your second round pick, you LA Rams it, and you maybe empty the cupboards of your picks. So,
well, I think the Edmonton Oilers have to. You have to. It's like the old adage in Pittsburgh, and we'll use Jeff Merrick again. Mm-hmm. Every single time you have the chance to run out Sidney Crosby and a Jenny Malkin, you empty the cupboards and you do whatever you can to build a team around them. And, I haven't seen that fully in Edmonton. I mean, they bring in guys, but it's never guys that seem to click or fit where they need them to, right? And we talk about chemistry and things like that. I think they really need to find the guys to play with, Connor McDavid, not just Leon Draisaitl. Zach Hyman was a great addition, but I said it to Clark at the beginning of the season. If they didn't fix the goaltending, it was going to be a long year for Edmonton. And then they got off to a hot start, and everybody was like, oh, you have no idea what you're talking about. It's like, no. They'll regress to the means, definitely 100%.
Yes. Yeah, that 50% power play was just not going to operate at that clip for the entire season. And that's really what their bread and butter was for the first 15 games of the season. And I think that's just one of those things when you talk about sustainability and teams that have the ability to get through an 82-game season. You talked about it earlier with adjustments that you'd like to see happen with the Leafs as they get closer and closer to the playoffs. The Oilers just don't have the flexibility or the creativity cap-wise to be able to fix all of the problems that they currently have. So it's going to be requiring, again, maybe Ken Holland reaching back in the early 2000s to get a little creative with some of his assets that he has. And it might not be a most popular move with the fan base, but it's something that, like I said, maybe you do entertain. Hot take Harry here. Maybe you do entertain the thought of trading a guy who has no trade protection and can arguably fix all your problems with the return that he could get you in trading Leon Draisaitl.
Clark, you'll know me for this one, and I say this all the time, Max. You always have to weigh this one, though. If you take a Leon Draisaitl out of your lineup, is what you're getting back going to be enough of an equation for your team that you're not losing a step?
Yep,
because
and
you
that's
take Leon Draisaitl out, that is huge. You lose all those goals, all of those points, but what you're bringing back in, are you shoring up your D? Do you have a goaltender? Do you have a winger that can pot you maybe 20 goals? Are you bringing enough back to balance what you're losing? And do you have something in your system? Obviously not a Leon Draisaitl, I know that. But obviously, do you have someone that can fill a role like Leon Draisaitl? And I would say right now in the Oilers, no, you don't. So it's very hard to move a guy like that because you're not bringing enough back to fill that void. It doesn't matter what other things you shore.
For sure. But I mean, we've also seen it too, right? The GM can't change again. The coach really shouldn't change again. They've had no sustainability from the front office and hockey operations perspective. You need to create something in there. And again, creativity is kind of what Ken Holland's really going to need to go to. I'm not too sure what they necessarily have outside of it, but I wonder if dollar in, dollar out, like you said, it's a very good question if they can actually get that value back. But unfortunately for the Oilers, nothing has changed in the last 5 years since they've had both of these guys. And when they're playing basketball type of hockey where you're relying on two guys every single night, can you maybe get 3 or 4 usable pieces for arguably maybe top 2 scorer in the past 3 seasons?
Well, see, and that's what to equate it to one thing here, a lesser player, but the Leafs lose Zach Hyman.
Right.
Now you have Andre Kasha, Michael Bunting, David Kampf, Nick Ritchie. You have all of these different options now that go throughout your lineup, right? For the same kind of price tag that you would have paid a Zach Hyman.
Absolutely.
So now the Leafs have more depth. They have the ability to run more lines, do different things. And for once, Keefe has a safety blanket on the third line with David Kampf as your defensive center, Andre Kasha as your bowling ball, and you can rotate a cast of whoever on the other side, Mikheyev, Ritchie, you name it. But that's what you're talking about there. But that was a lesser extent, a lesser carve out of the Leafs lineup.
Absolutely.
And they were able to replace it with Michael Bunting picking up those points and then other guys being able to do different things. But that's what I'm saying. If you lose Leon Draisaitl, do you have something that can offset that loss offensively, but shore you up defensively and in goal? I would say that's very, very hard to do.
Yeah,
it's very hard to win that trade.
Oh, yeah. And going back to the Pittsburgh analogy, right? Can you find the Chris Kunitz and the Pascal Dupuis to the Sidney Crosby where, again, it's you maybe take Leon out, but you find that guy that can generate that chemistry and replace that offensive production. Like you said, it's a tall order, but I mean, something's got to change in Edmonton here, without a doubt.
Well, it definitely does. I feel sorry for Oilers fans because they've gone through so many good players. And now you have arguably the best generational player they'll probably see for a long, long time, and you don't have anybody to play with him and it's not working out and he may want to leave. Yeah. I mean, it's not just a rumor. I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire. And it's been talked about a bunch, that Holland was given a time clock to fix this. Yeah. You have to imagine if this season goes awry and they don't make the playoffs, which I made a joking video about a few weeks ago, but it's looking more and more like a possibility. If they don't make the playoffs, you're Connor McDavid. What do you say? You say, I want to go to a contender. Get me out of here. And then Leon Draisaitl may be on the same path. Like, I want to play somewhere we're going to win. And, it sucks for the fans because they're passionate. But when you're a player and you have a finite window, not only to make money, but to win a cup, you want to go somewhere to win.
Yeah.
You want to go to an organization that puts, the whatever you want to call it on winning, the exclamation mark or whatever, the stamp on winning. and the Oilers haven't done that. So,
and let's make no mistake about it too, right? When it comes to the Jack Eichel trade that we just saw, yes, obviously the injury played the most pivotal role in terms of determining his fate with the Sabres, but before it was the injury, he wasn't happy there based on what the organization was doing to, like you said, put that emphasis on a winning hockey culture. And I think that is 100% exactly what these two young superstars in Edmonton are going to be looking at internally is, can they do enough with us here? Do we potentially have to go our separate ways? And I think that's where, like I said, my hot take originally came from is if you're going to have to blow it up now and potentially keep one of them or risk losing both of them and alienating your entire fan base, I think that's the other part of the equation that's very interesting to me. Like I said, I'm not a doctor. I just play one on TV. But
well, I look at the Buffalo Sabres. You talk about them, but every player, there's so many players that go through the Rasmus Ristolainen. You look at Ryan O'Reilly, says he lost his love for hockey there. Yeah. You know, there's so many different things that happen in Buffalo that you're like, ugh. And you wonder, does that ugliness start to rear its head in Edmonton, right? With players and not wanting to play or not wanting to be there. And then that becomes a bigger problem because then you have to start convincing guys to come back to Edmonton. Once you got Connor McDavid, players wanted to play with him. Players wanted to come to Edmonton to play with Connor and Leon Draisaitl. But if those players are gone again, then you become the Edmonton Oilers where you have to basically overpay or beg guys to come here.
Yeah, which is another dangerous territory to be in.
It is going to be becoming a thing, I think, very soon when you have the superstar of the league, or two of them. And like you said, nothing is going their way. When does the tipping point happen? And we might be closer to that than we think. We're like,
I think it's this season.
It might be. We're like 6 minutes into this period, and man, it is back and forth. This is a better period. There's a lot of stuff going on. Draisaitl had like 4 chances. One barely missed the net. Matthews,
see, that's what I mean. Just trade him. Just trade him after the game. Guy couldn't even bury on one of his chances here in the third. Like just cut ties. It's over, right? Yeah.
The Leafs have had 2 crazy bounces that almost went in. Like it's a crazy period so far. Still 2-2. As you can see on the screen here, we got the stats. The Leafs are leading the shot battle 26-20. But I don't know if it's going to show it on here. They showed a possession. They showed a possession amount, and it's not on here. Look at the takeaways number, though. The Oilers have 14 takeaways tonight to the Leafs 6. But they showed a possession number, and it was like offensive zone time, and the Leafs had 11 minutes, and the Oilers had 7 or something like that. So that's a big difference in numbers. The face-off percentage is one thing that I've been pointing out for the Leafs all year. Look at the face-off percentage here. Almost 61% for the Leafs this game. They have been dominating the face-off circle. And James is gone. James bolted.
He's had enough of us.
I don't know if he did that on purpose or not, but hopefully he's not mad at us. There he is. He's coming back. We can say goodbye. We can say goodbye properly to James. I thought you were mad at us, James.
No. I went to just try to look at the screen a little bit better and obviously hit the wrong button. So good old tech fingers.
Yeah. The face-off percentage is all I was saying. 61% for the Leafs tonight. They've had a great face-off numbers. I think they're like second in the league for face-off percentage this season, which has not been the case for them in a long time. So it's nice to see. But James, we'll let you get back to watching the game. There's about 12 or so minutes left. We're going to take a break ourselves, I think, Max, and we'll get back to the game. But James, thanks for jumping in tonight. We'll do it again.
Thank you.
No problem, guys. Appreciate it. Hey, make sure you watch the Squadcast. Check out both these guys. They're awesome. Cheers.
Offside Hockey Talk as well. Make sure you reciprocate the love right there. Take care, James. Have a good night.
And on TikTok, go follow him. All right.
Bye.
There it is, James Roberts. Max, let's take a quick one, and we'll come back.
30-second timeout. Sounds good.
We'll give it another minute one, but we'll take another break here, and we'll be right back. we're back on the stream as well. There we go, Max. All right, we got 12 minutes left in the third period. It has been a very back and forth third period. Thanks again to James from Offside Hockey Talk for joining us there. Awesome chat with him. You always know you're going to get some really good takes out of James whenever you have him on. Also, a big shout out to Waz for checking in earlier in the first intermission. And if you are watching on the Hockey Podcast Network, please make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button on the video itself, and let's blow up the comments here for the rest of the game. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know who your players of the games are as well. Send those in, who you think the best player tonight has been, and whatever else you want to talk about. If you have any questions, let us know. We can stick around for a bit after the game as well for a chat as well. I think I'm getting a delivery here. Yes, I am. Thank you.
Must be nice.
I got my my hot beverage for the evening. Thank you, wife.
Wow.
I appreciate you. Anyways,
Amy, I'll take a hot toddy with extra lemon, please, and thank you.
she's on it. It'll be delivered to you in 2 to 3 weeks.
Awesome. Sounds good. Sounds like a skip order in these parts of the province when the weather's a little too cold and the snow's flying. Hey, where's our Popeyes?
Oh, the Popeyes. Yeah. So that's a funny story. The first time we did a live watch along stream, me and Max, it was during one of the biggest blizzards in this city's recent history. And we're like, well, you know what? I didn't get supper. Max came from work, so he was a little famished. So I said, you know what? Let's order some Popeyes. Popeyes chicken sandwiches. No, not a sponsor.
Yeah, no free ads.
Nope. But we ordered it. We waited for about 45 minutes, and it said that they still hadn't done the order yet, or the driver hadn't been matched yet. And I think it said the waiting time was like 87 minutes, which is not typical. It's usually like 20 minutes, especially after you already waited 45 minutes. It's usually not that long. So it was 90 minutes, 91 minutes, 92 minutes, 82 minutes, 95 minutes. It was like, this isn't happening, is it? And we were like 2 minutes away. We were like 20 minutes away from our broadcast starting. And we're like, yeah, this isn't happening. So I sent them a message. I'm like, can you cancel my order? How does this work? Like, it's clearly not coming. Anyway, so the running joke was, where's our Popeyes? It still hasn't come yet. We're still waiting for that. Daily Sports Hub on TikTok. What's going on? It has been a pretty good game. This third period has really saved it. It was a really sloppy second period for both teams, I think. So I Max, there's been some juggling of stats for this game. I don't know if you noticed. Originally, they gave it to Tavares. They switched it to Nylander, and now it's back to Tavares because they determined through video replay that it actually hit his skate before it hit the boards on the way through. So they gave it back to him. Then Nylander scored the second one. They gave it to Marner originally. Sorry, not Nylander. Marner got the second one, and now they've given it to TJ Brody. So that's all been switching around. The Oilers ones have been less eventful. They are just simply Brandon Perlini and Leon Draisaitl.
It's what happens, I guess, when you get a couple of strange bounces to account for your 2 goals for the night. But interesting scenario there. I mean, ultimately, it's for fantasy purposes. You would definitely want to keep track of who's officially going to get credit with the goals and the first and secondary assists. But yeah, it's kind of been a weird one, that's for sure.
Max, I don't know if you can see the comments. I'm sure you can. Do you want to say this thing that Jacob asked you to say, or do you want to leave it?
I feel like that's just feeding into stereotypes, though, isn't it?
More or less.
Don't I say A a lot, though? I feel like I say A like all the time.
I would say you're an above average A-er.
An above average A-er, yeah. I like it. That's my patriotic side showing.
I think Flo Rida wrote that song about you. Put it hands in the air.
Hands in the air. Yep, that's right. 100%.
The City Life Project says, "Hey, no, that's the Fawns." Hey,
I feel like what I'm being asked to say though, like that kind of. It sounds a little too provocative. Rip her in the backwoods. That
well, I think that's like out for a rip, are you, bud? Like go for a rip.
Well, there you go. See, you nailed it. But I was going to say just the provocativeness of the statement itself. I mean, I feel like that could get a guy in trouble if he says it the wrong way with the wrong tone. You know,
maybe.
You know, eh? Yeah.
Colorino, what's going on? I guess I'm getting called out by a couple Leafs fans on TikTok. I'm doing a broadcast here. This is the main broadcast over here. I'm just here on TikTok hanging out with you guys. I guess Chris Weigel, my boy Chris.
You're gracing them with your presence.
Yeah, he sent me a couple of requests throughout the game here tonight to go live with him, and I think it'd be really weird if I had two chats going on separately.
In my experience with you, my friend, you're not a great multitasker either. So I just keep it locked on one channel for now. You know, I tell you what,
I'm going to take that as a slight, Max. I think I do a pretty decent job.
I don't know. There's about 63 episodes in studio that would refute that slight, as it were.
When it gets to the point where I'm doing like 5 things at a time, then it gets too much. But if I can do
it's only 2. It's only 2. You say it's 5. It's only 2. Come on now. Fine. Don't lie to the people now.
It is what it is.
You have 2 things going. You're listening to me, which is not usually happening, and then you're checking the computer for facts, stats, and things that are wrong, NHL standings wise from Yahoo, because for some reason you were using Yahoo. I don't understand.
Also looking at the script. Also sometimes, sharing on social media and stuff like that. It gets to 4 or 5 things. Sometimes it's tough.
You look at the script?
For sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Don't try to throw that in there. We both know you don't look at the script.
I look at the script to read your well-written words, Max, because you are a savant and a Shakespeare when it comes to
and see, if you're instead of looking at the script, you just got to listen, man. Just don't freege me out.
Just go with it. Just go
with the flow.
These events are not scripted. This whole last 2 hours has not been scripted, but
not at all.
Our Squadcast show, when we get going, we script out some topics, we script out some questions for our guests. So those, in a sense, are scripted, but largely it's just us going back and forth. We got the City Life Project. He says, you guys are awesome. Haha. Thank you. I appreciate that. The Leafs are on a power play here, as I see Jacob or Leon Draisaitl going down the ice on an odd man rush for the Oilers. Minute and 10 seconds or so left on the Leafs power play. They had a couple of setups, but they didn't quite get a good enough shot off during those setups. They're back in the zone now with puck possession. Again, puck possession for the Leafs has been a positive tonight. They have a big chunk of the puck possession. Decent little shot here by Morgan Riley, but it's not going in. Max, we talked about this last night on our show, the Squadcast, around the league, some standings. The Atlantic Division specifically is dominated right now by the Florida Panthers, who may be the best team in hockey as we sit here today. The Tampa Bay Lightning are very strong as well. The Leafs are right behind them in a sense, but it seems like there's a bit of a gap there, and they haven't played each other a whole lot yet. So I want sorry. Something good happened, and I had to react. It was my boy Ilya Mikheyev. You'll see it in a sec here.
Nice.
It is 3-2 for the Maple Brothers.
Can't really blame Mike Smith for that one. That's a tough shot for any goaltender to stop from that.
That's a
place
tough
on the
shot,
ice.
especially with a guy sprawling right there.
Yeah,
you can't see the puck. You could tell he was going to shoot, but with the guy sprawling, you don't know the angle it's coming at.
Exactly, 100%.
Until it's too late. Was that Warren Fogle? Is that who that was? No, Slater Cuckoo, your boy, Slater Cuckoo.
Slater Cuckoo. Silent K.
Silent. There's a couple of K's in there that are silent. Yep. Yeah. Corey Kidd on YouTube saying hi. What's up, Corey? Jacob on YouTube says bing bong. Obviously, the bing bong trend is not dead yet. But what was I saying? Oh, the Atlantic Division. Yes, the Florida Panthers might be the hottest team in hockey, best team in hockey, depending on who you ask. If you're not a Rangers fan or a Capitals fan, because I think the Panthers might be in first place now after yesterday. They beat the Flames. I think they have 49 points, whereas the Rangers and Capitals have 48. So those are your top 3 teams in the league right now. Max, for your money, who's the best team in the NHL right now? Is it one of those 3 teams, or is it somebody else?
You know what? Like, it's hard to take out the Tampa Bay Lightning out of the conversation, right? Like, they're just so well built. And Andrei Vasilevsky, regardless of what we're talking about, top goaltenders, he is the top goaltender still in the NHL. He covers up a lot of their mistakes just solely on his own. And when Big 88 is just going for the Tampa Bay Lightning, they're nearly unbeatable. That's a team that can't be trifled with, no matter how many injuries take place, no matter how many things seem to affect their lineup. As long as 88's between the pipes, they will dominate, right? So I really still, until the Tampa Bay Lightning are knocked off as the champs, I mean, it's really hard to look anywhere else to say who the best team is in the NHL, because it could be really easy for them to be really complacent in this early part of the season. It'd be really easy for them to just kind of take their foot off the gas. They don't really have to play till December, January kind of thing, just because they've been there, done that before. And John Cooper deserves all the credit in the world. What else do you say to a team that's won 2 straight Stanley Cups to get them up for every single game that they play? So I'm looking at the Tampa Bay Lightning. I really like watching the Florida Panthers play. It's kind of funny. We were talking, or I guess James aforementioned it, with Sergei Bobrovsky. He's a guy that you just every second year give him the Nikita Kucherov, right? Because it's 1 year he is lights out Vezina caliber goaltender, and then the next year it is complete shenaniganery in terms of what he's doing in the 4x6. But
I'm
when
mistaken,
it comes,
by the way, Tampa Bay is first in the league.
That's I didn't want to correct you. I just wanted to let my
I forgot there was
kind of speak for itself. But
I forgot there was a standings button on here that I could go see.
That's okay.
But yeah, no, Tampa.
You were looking at Yahoo again. It's fine. It's okay.
Right. I was gonna say, Max, the thing about Tampa that we forget to mention is that they've played fewer games because of COVID stuff. But no, they've actually played more games.
Yeah.
So there you go. MP is matches played, I think.
That's a weird one. Why just call is GP trademarked? To me, it just looks
British.
weird.
Sounds
looks
British
different
to me.
Yep.
Match. These are kind of a British.
Yeah, it's a match in the Premier League. Yeah, that's right.
Must be a British website.
But regardless, yeah, I don't know. To answer your question, it's still the Tampa Bay Lightning for me. Obviously, Florida's an exciting team, offensively loaded. Jonathan Huberdeau is absolutely fun to watch any given game. Sasha Alexander Barkov, a guy that just continues to prove how. Again, I look at it because that's the conversation about him every single year. He's the most underrated guy in the league. I don't necessarily know if he's underrated anymore. He's the captain of that team. He's had 100-point seasons already. This is a guy that just, when he's on his A game, adds a completely unmatchable dynamic from the Atlantic Division standpoint. I mean, if you're talking about guys that you want to start a franchise with, Barkov's got to be right up at the top of that conversation in terms of respect that he's gained in the league. So I look at that as a really fun team to watch. Obviously, when it comes to Sergei Bobrovsky and Spencer Knight, they're well set up in goal. It's just a matter of if Bobrovsky can put 2 good seasons in a row together. We know every other year he's going to be fantastic. It's again going back to the fact that every other year he's just not fantastic. So
no, exactly. Yeah. The other thing, like Carolina, for example, they're right there with points. And
another great team. Yeah,
they've played fewer games. Boston has played 6 fewer games than Tampa. Now I don't know if they're in the same category right now, but they're still Boston.
Absolutely.
They could catch fire at any time.
As long as that perfection line is there, they are going to contend. They just will.
In the West, we talked about a lot of Eastern teams there. In the West, it's kind of a weird hodgepodge to me in the top 10, I'll even say. Not to discourage your Nashville Predators, but again, we talked about this yesterday, but we didn't expect them to be 3rd in the Western Conference at this point in the season. Nope. Maybe 8th, sure, 10th, fighting for a playoff
spot.
Yep. But to have them sitting right where they are, that's I'm majorly impressed by Nashville this year. But what I'm trying to get at is, St. Louis last year probably wasn't, considered a top team in the West. Nashville, probably not considered a top team in the West. Anaheim, same boat. Colorado was the favorite. Minnesota had a good year last year. Vegas, I don't even think Vegas is in their final form yet. They're not even,
they aren't. They haven't seen Jack Eichel yet.
If this was Pokemon, they're still Ivysaur to their Venusaur. They're not even in Venusaur levels.
Whoa, you reached deep into the archives for that reference. Wow.
That deserves a couple of props, I think, for my Pokemon fans out there.
Wow.
Also, let's just do that. What you played, everyone did. You played Pokemon back in the day. Were you Squirtle, Charmander, or Bulbasaur?
Charmander, 0 question. Charizard was just a menace. That's always who you wanted to evolve into. I get the fire type versus the water type versus grass, this and that. Didn't matter. I would have supplemented Charizard with a bunch of water types, and it would have been just fine. But that's exactly who I played for when it came to Pokemon.
I 100% understand that he's probably the strongest one. I was always a Bulbasaur guy.
Really?
I don't know why. I know.
Well, I know why. I can go deep into your psyche here, Clark, and the answer is right on your hat. You were just subconsciously thinking Leafs and thinking,
Oh,
like that's like I said,
before I would have been a Leafs fan.
I'll be
Oh,
your
no,
therapist. I
about the
charge
same.
$125 an hour. If you've got any other deep, resounding issues that you want to get into, I'd happily be that kind of pal to you. But
I'm trying
anyways,
to think, though, 'cause
that's how you
I
answer
was-
that question. It's the connectivity of your fandom for hockey as well as your Pokemon fandom. They just overlapped. It made sense.
Pokemon came out when, like late 90s?
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Because I would have been a Ducks fan at that point if we're
Yeah.
getting that deep. So
Yeah.
that should have been like a Squirtle thing if we're
You'd
talking
think, but
subconscious. But
maybe again, it was your subconscious going towards your future. Maybe it was the Bulbasaur.
my
Yeah.
psychic conscious.
Yeah, that's right.
My psych conscious.
Your
There you go.
psych consciousness.
We're inventing things today. This is good.
That's
This
right.
is good.
Your Slater quickness in this.
Right.
Cuckoos.
Cuckoo.
Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Yeah.
There it is. I don't know. I was always a Bulbasaur guy. I don't know if it was because of the cartoons, and I just like Bulbasaur's character the best out of the three, but I don't know. Boo Manis says, well, boys, I'm off. Hopefully our Pokemon talk didn't steer you away, Boo Manis.
Have a good night, sir. You take care.
We'll see you next time, hopefully. Jacob says, Vegas and the Blues are tired. Let's go. Vegas is the best, he says. Of course, Jacob's all over Vegas. And like I said earlier, they're not even in their final form yet. Jack Eichel, when he gets there, just wait and let's see what
Pacioretty when he comes off the IR just in time for playoffs. Yeah.
Mark Stone hasn't played a full season yet. I know William Karlsson's been on and off the roster. Once they get healthy, I'm
watching them last night, man. They're still a very menacing team. Like I said, when you talk about the Nashville Predators, their sole reason for the success that they've been having. I mean, Ryan Johansson and Matt Duchene have luckily had some Renaissance type years where they're playing back at their primes. But UC Saros is solely the reason that they won that game last night. You look at Vegas up and down the lineup; they are just super, super strong and they are relentless. They outshot the Preds, I think, like 42-28 by the time the game was done last night, and they had some really good opportunities and good chances. It was 3-0 up until the midway part of the third. I think like 7.5 minutes left. UC Saros' shutout got ruined on a kind of a weird bounce. Same kind of thing that we've been seeing tonight, actually. Shot from the point from the aforementioned Braden McNabb. It kind of gets by Saros that was a little bit screened and had a player on top of him. Regardless, either way, Pred still got the W, so that's all that matters. But you look at Vegas just up and down the lineup. Man, they are good. They are deep. You want to talk about a team that is the complete opposite of what the Oilers have. They have the quality. They don't have the quantity. Vegas is one of the few teams in the league that has both. They have quality, they have quantity, and it comes at you in waves up and down their lineup. And Pete DeBoer has just got them playing with some kind of swagger that I still don't necessarily know they would be that much worse off if they still had Gerard Gallant behind the bench.
I agree with you there.
But with that being said, though, too, Pete DeBoer is obviously a highly respected coach in the league, and he's come in and just kind of said, continue to roll, boys. I'm just here to facilitate things, and you guys just keep doing what you've been doing. I will say, though, Philip Forsberg absolutely walked Alex Pietrangelo last night on that goal. He made him look like a pylon. And it wasn't even the nicest goal in the entire NHL last night when you look at Cale Makar's overtime winner against the Chicago Blackhawks. My goodness, what an incredible couple of goals. And that Cale Makar, man, holy, he is something awesome. He is something awesome.
Brandon is asking on TikTok, is that Nylander jersey size 54 / can I have it? No, you can't have it. I'm not giving you my jersey. This is a 54 though, but I'm not giving it to you. I'll tell you that for free. Caleb says that's a new
I could have swore it was a 67.
Oh, damn it, Mac.
You walked right into that one.
That's a new setup. He's just saying, I'm up in my bedroom today. I'm usually downstairs for Leafs games on the couch in the living room, but I am upstairs. We got the blue light going on in the room today. So I kind of figured I'd do it up a little bit for the Hockey Podcast Network. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let's get back to the game here and chat about that a little bit as we have 2.5 minutes left. It's a 3-2 game for the Leafs. Again, I want on YouTube right now, we got a good crew still hanging out here. Who is your player of the game tonight with 2 minutes left in the game? Who is your player of the game? Can be from the Leafs, can be from the Oilers. Whatever you think, let us know. We want to see your comments and make sure you hit that like button before the end of the game. To me, I mean, it's kind of been a sloppy game for the Leafs. Some of the best play, I think, is oddly enough, come from like Alex Kerfoot, Michael Bunting. Those guys have been kind of all over the ice, causing a bunch of mayhem. kind of just giving the Leafs a bit of life. So those guys right now, I know they probably aren't even on the scoreboard. Let's just double check that, but I don't even think they're on the scoreboard. But no, Kerfoot got an assist on the first one, I guess. Mikheyev had the power play goal, but I'm going to give it to Alex Kerfoot. Kind of underratedly good game. Almost like a warrior of the game type of award rather than a real player of the game in terms of production. I don't know, Max, from what you've seen, who are you giving the player of the game to?
The guy that's going to get the puck right now here in Leon Draisaitl. I mean, he's been a heavy topic of discussion, and again, it goes against everything I've been saying about how the Oilers should maybe look at trading this guy. Well, he's in a league of his own, right? You've got the Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Nathan McKinnon tier, and then you got everybody else. Sorry, there's probably a few more names that belong in that discussion as well, but either way. Man, oh man, this guy, just what he can create on his own. I think that's the other thing that you're seeing is how valuable he can be without Connor McDavid, right? He's a guy that just drives play, and regardless, he's had a few grade A chances tonight where this game could be 4-3 Leon Draisaitl versus the Toronto Maple Leafs kind of deal. So it's just one of those things where you look at it, the dynamicness, the creativeness offensively. Obviously has a goal that was kind of put on a what's the best way to say it? Put on a tee for him. Put it on a tee with Kyler Yamamoto throwing in front to him, beating Jack Campbell earlier in the contest. But I just look at this guy, and he's clearly going to be out there for the last minute 13. They're probably taking this time out specifically for number 29.
He's already been out there for a minute and a half, and he's
exactly. And I think that's the other part too. As we wrap up this game, we could talk for another hour on the Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid discussion, but how much tread are you wearing out on these guys' tires at this point in their careers to not get anywhere? I think that's the other thing that's got to be in the back of their minds is players saying, I don't want to play 25 minutes a night to get nowhere, to possibly be battling for a playoff spot still in March. Like, we should have a team that's good enough to lock up a playoff spot early, where I don't have to completely exceed and expend all of my energy by the end of the regular season so I can do some damage in the playoffs. I think that's got to be weighing heavily on both of their minds as their careers get a little bit further into it. And as much as they probably want to be part of the long-term solution in Edmonton, sometimes it's just not meant to be. So yeah, we'll see how that situation develops, but it's funny. Everybody always talks about Connor. What's Connor feeling? How's he reacting to everything that's going on in Edmonton? Nobody really asks about Leon. That's the thing. It's always what's on Connor's mind. And I mean, you watch Leon Draisaitl tonight. He deserves every bit as much the recognition and support in whatever decision he wants to make for his hockey career. Ooh, Zach Hyman almost putting a bit of a wrench into the Leafs' plans for a W there.
That's what the facial, I don't know if you saw the facial expression about 20 seconds ago for me, but that's what it was.
Yeah.
Alex Kerfoot about 30 seconds ago beat out an icing, and now Kerfoot puts in the empty netter, Max. I'm just going to give you the spoiler here.
Nice. You probably could have just rewinded like 15 seconds and we would have been just right on pace tonight. We didn't figure that out till the end of the game.
I don't know if you can do that on the Sportsnet app or not.
You should just get the NHL app then. Jeez.
You know what? I think
there it is.
I should have done that for you. Either way.
That's okay.
Kerfoot again. So right here, they're going to show you on the replay, Max. They iced the puck and Kerfoot beat out the icing just a few seconds before this happened. And then he gets the empty net goal. So just cementing the fact that I think Kerfoot was the player of the game here tonight. He had a very nice game. Very nice game. Draisaitl is mad. Oh, he's mad.
There you go. Was that him that got tripped along the half wall there?
He might have been interfered with a little bit. But we should get Waz on now to get the reaction out of Edmonton after this, because as a lot of people were kind of rumoring, if they lose this game, there could be some heads rolling. So keep your eye on
again, right? It's not on 29. That's the thing. I know that it was hot take Harry to say, oh, well, how could you ever trade him? Well, he just might want to go. This is tough.
Keep your eye on Twitter, is what I'm going to say over the next 24 hours, just in case. 4-2 is the final here tonight. The Leafs take this one over the Oilers. A bit of a sloppy match. The first period was fireworks. 4 goals in the first period. Tavares gets the first one. The Oilers took a 2-1 lead with Perlini and Draisaitl scoring goals. TJ Brody evened it up later in the period with 28 seconds on the clock. The second period, nothing really happened. It was a real sloppy mess. And then the third period, Mikheyev gets a power play goal. And then Kerfoot iced it with 15 seconds on the clock with an empty netter. So I don't know, Max. I already said with James here and with Waz. Well, I don't know if I said it with Waz, but I'm on team don't fire Dave Tippett. I think you give this team a little bit more time. I don't think it's the right time. But what happens if they do? Do you think it'll help?
I don't know. Like, again, you look at this team. I think everybody's saying, "Oh, well, look at what Bruce Boudreau did for the Canucks." Well, yes, but the Canucks also, when you look at them on paper, they have a significantly deeper team, and Thatcher Demko is probably twice the goaltender that you're looking at in terms of comparing between Mike Smith, who again deserves no disrespect. He's had a heck of a career. Mikko Koskinen, definitely, he's much better than. The Canucks just have a few more layers that the Edmonton Oilers can't say that they boast, right? And I mean, the odds were stacked against them from the drop of the puck tonight when you're missing, again, 3/5 of your top power play unit in Tyson Barrie, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and Connor McDavid. It's incredibly tough to even. They were in the game. They were in the game for quite a long period of time there. It's just, unfortunately, they were a team that could afford to make zero mistakes tonight. And it is what it is. If you're doing symbols about beating a team that, again, was without Connor McDavid, that's kind of sad, but okay.
Somebody asked what the score was on my TikTok, and you were talking. I didn't want to interrupt you.
I was like, oh, geez, Clark just threw a strike bowling. He's doing the double X thing.
I was doing some gang signs. I don't even know.
Oh, geez.
Somebody asked, Andrew's asking who the host is tomorrow. I'm not sure. If there's anybody watching right now from the THPN crew who wants to maybe give a preview for what's coming up tomorrow on THPN, let us know. But Janelle saying, "Oh, buddy, I hope you feel better soon." I think she can tell that I have a bit of a cold. So I'm getting through it.
The Megatron. It is what it is.
The Soda Pod says, "What's up, Soda Pod? You're late. We just finished the game. It's over.
Better late than never, as they say, though, right?
Oh, yeah. 4-2 win for the Leafs. It is over. Let me just scroll down there so we just get this part.
Well, look at us go. Hey, both 1-0. Our squad's going at it there.
Yeah, exactly.
The Hockey Podcast Network is a good omen.
The streams are lucky for us when we do it with our teams, Max. The game is over. Hockey Fan is 4-2 for the Leafs. I just mentioned that. Matt Jaws is checking in over on TikTok, and he says, "Fire Tippett and hire Babcock. Really tank the season.
Oh, man. Again, though, they're down their third and fourth round picks. Like, who do you trade? It's just a mess. Like, the Oilers are in that really tough spot where, again, if you're Connor McDavid's not entertaining a rebuild. It's not happening. Like, there's just nothing you could say to that man that says, yeah, stick around. We'll have this figured out in 3 more years. Like, He's already been through 3 head coaches, 2 or 3 GMs. Like, this is just, it's not a thing where you can really look at it and say, all right, Connor, here's what we need from you is more patience. It just can't happen. So I don't know what you do if you're the Oilers. Again, tonight is just a bit of a microcosm of it being a tough stretch for them, maybe, and maybe they find a way to figure it out. But to me, from what I saw tonight, there's just not enough caliber there beyond that top line to really make a dent. And that's even in the Pacific Division. I mean, let's call it what it is. It's not the strongest division in all of hockey. And if they can't hold their own there, what does it even say if they squeak into the playoffs? Are they looking at a potential another series sweep at the hands of somebody that is just built a lot stronger in every facet of the game? So yeah, it's not basketball. This is hockey. You can't rely on 2 players to carry the load every single friggin' night. You just can't.
I agree. It's a really interesting pickle that Edmonton is in, because how do you trade one of the 2 best players in the league almost production wise?
They did it with Gretzky.
Well,
I understand it was different circumstances, but I mean, how different is it really? You got 2 guys that Leon Draisaitl had it all over his face tonight. Like he's going into every game still hoping and thinking that they can win. And unfortunately, there's just not enough horses there.
He had the famous quote. What was it, like a month ago or whatever it was? He had the famous quote, "We don't lose 2 games in a row." And let's look at the standings. I feel like we have.
It's been a lot more than that.
They've lost at least 5 in a row. I don't know how far back that goes. I don't see last 10 games or anything, but I know they've lost more than 5 in a row. It's not good. And
I mean, so if you're
going to says, Max, how well did the 99 trade work out for them? Probably a good point.
Oh, even still, it doesn't much matter. You got to try something, right? It's two different generations, right? They'd won their, and that was a completely different scenario in the sense of Peter Pocklington was in major debt and needed to figure out a way to
Yeah,
I
the
guess
economics of the league, I think, are a little different now than they were in Pocklington.
100%. But I mean, again, though, right? You look at it is it's a dollar in, dollar out situation for Edmonton. I don't think this is a trade that you make in season by any stretch. I think it's
It'd be way
again one of
harder.
those. What's that? Sorry.
It'd be way harder.
Oh,
in season.
absolutely. Way harder. You need a bit of a reset. You need some time to actually materialize this where it would require all of your focus, all of your attention if you're Ken Holland over the first few weeks of the offseason. But man, oh man. If they miss the playoffs again, and again, this is still at a point where, again, what are we at? 35 games into the season now for the Oilers.
Yeah.
There's time to turn it around, but again, if the Canucks are only getting stronger, there's teams below them in the standings that are just finding a way to hang around. If you're on the outside looking in, if you're the Edmonton Oilers, like it's a dangerous place to be in terms of your franchise. And we hear it from Mark Spector. We hear it from Jeff Merrick. We hear it from Elliot Friedman. Missing the playoffs isn't an option for these guys anymore if they want to keep their two ultra uber talented players happy. Otherwise, they're going to want out, and you're looking at a rebuild anyway. So
I think that was the biggest thing, though, that you said to me. You kind of nailed it. If you're going to trade Leon Draisaitl, I don't think it's going to happen.
No,
but if that's the move you're going to do, and that's what you buy in and you invest in that, and that's your direction, you have to fill at least 3 roster holes with quality products.
Yep.
You have to get a top 6 forward that I think James said it can give you a 20-goal season. Has to. That's a minimum. You have to get a goalie. You have to get a top 4 D-man probably at least, or at least a potential guy. Maybe like how Mackenzie Weegar was a third pair guy in Florida for a couple of years, and now he's a top pair with Aaron Ekblad. A guy like that.
Absolutely.
If you don't hit on all 3 of those at least, you lose that trade immediately.
100%.
If you get 2, you lose. If you only get 1, major lose. You have to get at least those 3, and then draft picks, and then prospects.
Exactly.
That's a hard trade to make.
Oh, absolutely. But we saw it done with Jack Eichel. We saw it done in season with a guy who's, again, been injured the last year. It's
but different scenario because Buffalo's not necessarily on the brink of potentially being a Stanley Cup contender. They're rebuilding. They're tearing down. They're starting fresh and getting new pieces. So, like Edmonton, if you're
are we saying the Oilers are?
They should be
and are two very, very different territories.
They're a team that went out and acquired a Duncan Keith because they needed a veteran piece to make a push. They
didn't need that trade.
No, they
think they didn't need it.
They went out and brought back their 40-year-old goalie to make another run. They brought back
a 38-year-old defenseman. It just
I'm just saying they're not a team where they're not at Arizona that's tearing it down. They're a team that's trying to be really good right now. So if you're going to be trading a Draisaitl, who is leading the league in points, I think, isn't he? Or did McDavid take over that lead?
Oh, either way, it's both of them when they're in the lineup. So
it's the 2 of them. If you're going to be trading him, you have to make this trade to be better now. You have to make it your team better. And that's going to be really impossible. That's going to be hard to do. My dad's chiming in. Your adopted father, Max.
Hey, Dad.
Ken Holland and Mike Babcock. Sounds familiar to me.
Yeah, it does.
They have some
definitely
history.
Does.
They have some history. I doubt this would happen, but do you think they could even bring in a Babcock as like an assistant coach just to kind of spark some things? That wouldn't work, would it?
I don't think so. No, that's just you're looking at 2 alphas on it, but you're just creating another divide, right? You're just Dave Tippett's looking over his shoulder saying, okay, when's he taking my job? And I mean, ultimately to me, the problem isn't necessarily behind the bench or in the general manager's box. It really isn't.
Right.
Like, I understand that everybody's a little pissed off with, okay, Cody Ceci wasn't the move, Duncan Keith wasn't the move, this and that. Hindsight 2020. You're looking at a couple of these things like these should have worked. What is the thing that's costing us? This is a goaltending issue. The Oilers can score with the best of them. We know that. They've got the pieces and the horses and the thoroughbreds that can do it. But this is a keeping pucks out of your net scenario. If you can get that 1 more save every night, 2 more saves, you're looking at a team that is a contender in the league. So when it comes to finding a sustainable goaltending solution, does it necessarily need to be sustainable? I don't know. Everybody's talking about Marc-Andre Fleury and how that is the go-to. But again, when you talk about winning and losing trades, when you look at the Oilers, it's a little bit easier to make a deal when you've got the entire league doesn't necessarily know your hole, right? So if you're, I guess, Kyle Davidson in Chicago for now, you're looking at a trade of something that you got for nothing, literally, in Marc-Andre Fleury, and potentially turning it into a haul for your own team. And the Oilers don't have a ton left that they can do in terms of picks, prospects. There's just not a lot there that's going to make sense in terms of taking that trade. And they have no cap space to do it. So you're looking at it from a dollar in, dollar out perspective. If Chicago has to retain, there goes your first, probably your second, and then you have no picks. And then what if it doesn't work and you're out of the playoffs? Like you've just completely decimated anything. So if there's a guy that can do it, I think it's Ken Holland with as successful of a track record as he's had. I just, there's so many things to say about the Oilers, but to me, it just all can be summarized as in they need a goaltender, and it's not give up whatever you have to get them, but you got to evaluate it from a perspective of what do we have that's actually valuable in our cupboard that we can part with that makes sense to go take a run at this thing.
Isha, to answer your question, yes, Mike Babcock is still coaching at the University of Saskatchewan. But I mean, if the Oilers came and offered him a job, he's going to probably take it, I would think.
I would say,
probably. Everyone on TikTok is saying fire Tippett. Tippett's done. Pete the Heat, my boy Pete, is saying Tippett's done. Paul Maurice's name is being thrown around over here. TikTok's going a little crazy. They're throwing out all the names and rumors. But yeah, we should probably start wrapping the show here on the Hockey Podcast Network, Max. Again, thank you to the network for having us. Hit that subscribe button on the Hockey Podcast Network YouTube channel if you haven't already. Make sure you tune in. There's going to be live streams, I think, almost every day. They're logged in. Like people are locking games in for weeks in advance now. So definitely go make sure you follow and subscribe this channel. Like this video, drop a comment on the video as well. Say hello. And I don't know when our next game on here is going to be necessarily, Max, but we'll sign up.
Sounds like we got to sign up quick.
Well, we got to take a look. We got to take a look. We'll get one for sure in the next.
Do your Mike Babcock impersonation for the people. We got to take a look. It's good players.
I might actually have a good one with my voice if it's a little raspy right now too.
Give it a go. Give it a go. Everybody's waiting.
Well, he's a good man and he's a good player. And when you're a good man and a good player, that just leads to a good team. And when you got a good team, it means you got a bunch of good men and a bunch of good players. And that's the key. That's the key. And that's what we're going to be going with today. How was that?
Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Coach. That was pretty good. That was solid. That was excellent. Yeah. I'd like a little bit more substance, though. Like next time you do it, like in the context of the schedule, saying, we just got.
Oh, you want a context of the schedule?
Yeah, come on. We need that, right?
Like the THPN schedule?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Give us the Mike Babcock booking our next game. Let's hear that.
Well, the THPN full of a bunch of good men. And a bunch of good men who like to talk about the good games. And when you got good games, you got to play a full, complete game. It's really hard to really get in there. But the goal is, and we work on this every day with our good players and our good men, you got to get in there. You got to work hard every day. And when you do that, you can find a slot. You can find a slot to get your boys in there and get your good men and your good players on the same page. And that's what we're going to do here today.
Lost a little bit at the end, but it started great.
You always got to end it with that's what we're going to do here today, because I feel like that's what he always talked about, his like daily plan, day by day, that kind of stuff,
and a little bit more muttering, just like when he talks in the microphones.
I did lose it a little bit. It's funny.
Okay. It's pretty good though. Solid 7.5 out of 10.
When he was doing interviews on TV on a daily basis, I really had it locked in. But since I haven't seen him and heard him enough, we had him on the show I work for on an interview a couple of months ago, and I got it back for like a day and then I lost it again. But it's the good players and good men. That's the key. If you can get that, it kind of
that's the foundation. Something. That's the Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl of the accent aigu of Mike Babcock. Good work, my friend. Good work.
He's a real good player. See, that's the thing. You got to say player without an A or an E. It's just the consonants. Player.
Yep.
Good players and good men. Yeah.
It's weird though, because he's from Saskatchewan, and like that's not a Saskatchewan like.
Have you heard? I'm gonna give a shout out to another podcast. The Steve Dangle podcast did a dive on his dialect at one point. They brought somebody in, or somebody did a study on his his vocab and how he says things, and his dialect is like, it's unique. It doesn't come from anywhere. There's like a mix of like hundreds of different dialects. It's wild. Somebody did a legit study because they couldn't figure out like what his dialect was.
The many layers of Mike Babcock. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, we should shut her down here now that we're
probably
doing
good
impersonations.
Thank you for bearing with us, everybody. That was a ton of fun.
We're gonna hit the outro again. Final score 4-2. Leafs beat the Oilers tonight. Watch Twitter because we don't know what's going to be happening in the next 24 hours for the Oilers. We'll see you again here on the Hockey Podcast Network. Again, thank you to them. Shout out to DraftKings. Go use promo code THPN to sign up now and get a bunch of cool bonuses and stuff. Go check that out. And we'll see you again here on the Hockey Podcast Network. I am producer Clark. This is Mad Max below me. Let's go to this screen really quick here. That's Mad Max beside me. We are from the Squadcast. If you want to check us out individually off of the Hockey Podcast Network, check us out there. We have a YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Check the Squadcast. You can find us on all of those places. And until we see you again, we'll talk to you soon.
Take
bye
care.
For now.
Happy New Year, everybody.
We'll hit the outro, Max, and then we'll say goodbye.
Oh, okay.
I forgot to hit the outro. Sorry.
Good stuff. Nice work.